3, 2, 1.
Fuck
the Chinese Communist Party.
Fuck the Chinese Communist Party.
Yes. Fuck the Chinese government and all that shit. As we are looking on this stream to hopefully promote Loudmouth's upcoming video about how China is almost being, I don't know, what would you say about China in regards of coronavirus exactly?
That they intentionally released this shit on us. They covered it up for weeks and let it propagate. That they've mass murdered tens of thousands of citizens in countries around the world, and they need to pay.
Right. Essentially, they're being psychopaths about it. They're practically promoting the spreading of it.
They've always been psychopaths. The Chinese Communist Party is pure evil.
Right, all the way down ever since Mao Zedong's reign.
Pretty much, it always has been. And it's not getting any better. If anything, they've gotten worse in recent years.
And hello, everybody in the chat. So, anyway, as you can tell possibly by the title of this stream right here, we're going to be finally giving our reactions to somebody who is prone and known to do meltdowns quite often, Cenk Uygur, reacting to Bernie Sanders dropping out of the race. I'm a little bit late getting to this, but still, why not just for shits and giggles for at least a little bit anyways. This video right here is 21 minutes.
To remind everyone, we're against Bernie Sanders, you dumbasses! We talk about it all the time!
By the way, I don't know if anyone saw my most recent YTP, but he literally said he was arguing literally for legalizing certain degenerate acts against other species. Let's just leave it at that. And it's like, what the... No, he literally he actually got into a little bit of a debate with Anna Kasparian about it, and it's like, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm sorry, look at this guy. I mean, we all joke that he's a buffalo, but he just loves mating, and I'm not saying that his love for mating is bad.
You know,
I think he's taking it a little too far.
He's probably like 1/8 buffalo, and that's probably why he's into bestiality, because he's a product of bestiality.
That's a face that no mother could love.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, yes, we're going to be reacting very quickly to Cenk Uygur. I don't intend to watch the entire video as it is around 20 minutes long. But right after that, we're going to be responding to a little bit, or even all of Chairview's video here, talking about Seth Rogen responding to an anti-lockdown protester named Dan Hicks. Just want to give some commentary, like it's nothing against Chairview, but still I felt that there was some things worthy of responding to in this video right here. And then we're going to be talking a little bit about single-payer healthcare in light of coronavirus. And holy shit, I forgot to pull up the other article that I wanted to talk about, because there's a little something on gun rights that has recently been brought to my attention, shared to me in a screen cap about a new gun control bill that's recently been announced, and people are trying to get passed. And I just wanted to shed light on that, and I did not prep the article, so excuse me right there, folks, but I'll prep it a little bit later. And then at some point we'll be talking about Planned Parenthood. This article that I came across on Washington Examiner, talking about Planned Parenthood and ACLU suing 3 different states for abortion restrictions that are made in light of coronavirus. And it just I found it just slightly funny, and just wanted to give commentary on that in general. But anyway, are we ready, folks? Loudmouth, S-Man?
Damn right.
I guess.
Let's hear the buffalo squeal.
Dig into Cenk.
All right.
Bit of buffoonery. I can't hear him.
You can't hear him right now?
No, I don't understand. I heard him before.
Holy shit! I thought I had it set up earlier for.
Did you share audio?
Oh yeah, I forgot to click that check mark.
Yes.
Tisk tisk, Darkcon. Tisk tisk.
Oof. Sorry, technical difficulties, people. Let's go though.
He is out of the presidential race. Joe Biden is your official nominee now. Yay. Okay, back to
you know that smile right there. You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of the one meme of the crying NPC or whatever character with the fake ass plastic smiley face mask over his face. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's what that made me think of. Let's watch the tears flow even more.
Biden in a second, because that is very, very important, obviously. So we'll get into expectations and what needs to be done going forward in order to beat Donald Trump. But first, let's talk about Bernie Sanders. Legend, GOAT, greatest of all time, our champion, our captain.
Yeah. Your captain lost worse this time than last time. Your boy got cucked by a dementia-ridden guy who sniffs hair. For fuck's sake, I'm sorry. Like, Bernie's loss has touched Cenk so much that Cenk has referred to this loss as the Biden effect. I'm sorry, but this is so ridiculous. These people should have realized. I'm sorry, Bernie Sanders winning the nomination was going to be an uphill battle. If you didn't see it that way, you were fucking retarded.
And I want to just
Twitter is real life.
And I just want to say that I had my high hopes back in 2016 that Ted Cruz would get the nomination for president. Just a little disclosure there, folks. It would have been great if Rand Paul got the nomination too, but in the final days of the primary, Ted Cruz was who I was backing out of the four people. But when he did not get nominated, I did not refer to Ted Cruz as our captain and legend and whatnot. I was able to at least realize that there was some big old flaws with him that make him not exactly the ideal candidate. I mean, as much as I like him for, or was supporting him for his policies, it was not for. Yeah, I realized that there was some massive personality flaws, and again, there was some other policies that I wasn't approve of. But anyway,
we've talked in the past about some of the things that were not done right in the campaign. We have.
Yeah, like not hitting hard enough on the other candidates, for example, right?
And failing to attack Joe Biden for all of his baggage, the vote for the war in Iraq, his track record as a senator. I mean, and the misconduct allegations. Like, how hard would it have been to be like, I'm more electable because this guy's accused of this? It may be a bad way of arguing, but if you want the nomination in a Democratic primary, just point out a little bit of baggage, and it goes a long way. And he was too incompetent to do it.
Our favorite Australian says, if Biden doesn't have a heart attack, stroke, or shit himself before the end of the year, I'll eat crow. Well, you are a wolf, Lonely Wolf, so it only makes sense.
If his name was Lonely Dingo, he would have said he'll eat baby.
Oh, shit. Okay, let's continue on, though.
To be honest about that. We'll probably continue to talk about it, including tonight on the live show at 6 o'clock Eastern. That's when it is every day. You know it, youtube.com/TYT. Go there and we will have a ton of analysis on what happened in this campaign and with Biden. But in the beginning, what I want to tell you is, no, it was not a perfect campaign by any stretch of the imagination. If it was, he'd have won. We would have won. We didn't.
There is no such thing as a perfect campaign, though.
Yeah, I mean, even those who win in some of the most lopsided landslides you can imagine, even in those cases, they could have done something a little better. I mean, hell, Cenk is the living proof of how there's no such thing as a good campaign when the motherfucker could barely get 5% of the vote in a primary.
Yeah, I don't know of what examples exactly to bring up about Reagan when he.
Sargon did better when he ran for office.
Well, I don't know about putting it that way, but yeah, still it's still a legitimate point, though.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, go ahead.
One thing Sargon can hold over Cenk. I got a better percentage of the vote than you did, asshole.
He got
Really?
I'm trying to find out where he how he did.
Sargon did terribly.
I'll have to take your word for it because I do not know the specific numbers of it.
I'd have to look into verifying that.
Although then again, Sargon of Akkad was basically running for what was basically the equivalent of a House for representative, a U.S. representative. Whereas
he's running for MP in the European Union, which and of course Britain was pulled out of the European Union by now, so it wouldn't have had any bearing on anything anyway.
Right. Well, wait a minute. He was running for MP of the European Union or of the UK Parliament?
The European Parliament.
European Parliament MP.
What? Okay, now that makes it extra baffling right there. Not gonna lie.
His party only got 3.22% of the vote in his native Southwest England, which is a drop from 29.1%. And okay, so maybe Cenk could hold.
Okay, now I take that back. I heard someone say that Sargon did better, but I guess not.
Yeah. Either way, at least Sargon could say he was more of a colorful character running a campaign than Cenk, whose most accurate statement is, "We're against Saudi Arabia, you dumbass. We talk about it all the time."
Right.
Yeah. Honestly, the idea of Cenk Uygur in Congress was fucking terrifying to me. It kept me up at night. Gave me the heebie-jeebies.
It would have been more entertaining than Hank Johnson saying Guam would have tipped.
Oh yeah. That still remains 10 years later the dumbest thing ever said on the floor of the House of Representatives. Yeah. I'm still amazed that fucker was reelected after that.
Oh, God.
Do you get reelected after saying something that fucking stupid?
They probably voted for him just because of the fact they wanted to have more memes from him.
The island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
Myth Cuttlefish says in the chat, Rand Paul 2024. The primary is going to end up being Rand Paul versus Dwayne Johnson in 2024.
Let's be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
I hope I'm joking, folks. Like, I don't want our presidential elections to become potentially celebrity politics.
They already have a long time ago, sadly.
Yeah. It kind of has.
Mainly starting with Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, was Bill Clinton? Well, okay.
He was
Ronald
the governor.
Reagan was a celebrity because he was an actor.
Yeah,
I mean, if we want to go back further, but what was Bill Clinton?
And of course, the governorship of Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was a disgraceful incident.
Yeah, well, I mean, Reagan was governor of California. Bill Clinton was attorney general and then governor of Arkansas. And then you had Barack Obama as a state legislator, U.S. senator.
Okay.
So it mainly started with, I guess, Reagan, and the first Democrat to have that benefit was Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slick Willie.
Right. For some reason, I thought you were saying that he was like a celebrity, like an actor, or maybe even a porn star, which that wouldn't be surprising.
I'd pour bleach in my eyes so fucking much.
That was a prophecy idiocracy made that a world wrestling champion and porn star would be president of the United States in the future. How long before that prophecy comes true?
Well, Donald Trump did participate in the WWE very briefly, and Kamala Harris tried to run for president. So, although Kamala Harris wasn't really a porn star, but anyway, let's go.
Too ugly for that.
You have to take personal responsibility. So, look, some people say from time to time that I'm one of the leaders of the progressive movement. That's wonderful to hear.
I sure as fuck hope not. If you're one of the leaders of the progressive movement, Cenk, then the progressive movement is fucked forever.
Exactly. I mean, the Justice Democrats, did they kind of dump you, Cenk Uygur, for fuck's sake?
Like they in the most recent primaries for Congress, Justice Democrats have been losing badly. I mean, like even in races where they didn't have much of a chance and they almost had a chance, they still lost. It's so beautiful. And this wave of progressivism is dying faster than the Tea Party every day, and I love it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Oh, excuse me.
And
I mean, they're out. Oh.
Go ahead.
I mean,
the progressives are full force in white knighting for communist China the last couple of weeks, so fuck them.
More extreme wings, I guess. But anyway,
what I'm saying, every time you criticize them, try to put the blame for the virus on China, some dipshit progressives like, but what about Trump? What about all the bad things Trump does? So pretty much they try to deflect criticism away from China. It's disgusting.
Joe Exotic and Carol Baskin, 2024. Oh, for fuck. No. Carol Baskin versus Joe Exotic. President Exotic.
You're reading the chat. I gotcha.
I know. I just saw it in the fucking.
But anyway, continuing on.
And I love that Young Turks called Home Progressives. We're the largest progressive show, network, you name it. No question about any of that.
Yeah, and aren't you going fucking bankrupt, dude?
They just barely recognize their union. Believe me, the Justice Dems are the biggest arbiters of injustice in the history of this country, even more so than the fact that Dark Khan couldn't figure out how to share the fucking audio for the stream.
Oh, fuck you. But anyway,
No, that's gay.
oh god, what was I gonna say? You better go talk into Bernie Sanders yourself, Cenk Uygur, and tell him to like give you some of that delicious Hillary and Joe money, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden money.
Did we help to Bernie Sanders get known better in 2016? I think so. I hope so, and that's what we're.
I don't really think so, honestly, because I remember more of Now This and other news groups that were a little bit more influential on Facebook to be shilling Bernie around than TYT. I mean, TYT was doing their part, obviously. I don't know. Maybe I'm being nitpicky.
Folks come up and tell us all the time. But along with that comes responsibility. So we lost. So that's on us. And blaming other people is both, let's put it this way. You have to do a real analysis of what went wrong.
Oh, God. Do you see the tears about to come, guys? Do you see the tears?
I see it. It's beautiful.
Oh, the tears of unfathomable sadness. Yummy, you gays. Yummy, you gays.
Look at that. I see the sadness in his eyes right now, folks.
All people got that South Park reference.
I did. That's amazing.
Honestly, I didn't. I don't watch a lot of South Park.
Scott Fetterman must die.
I'm sorry to disappoint.
That's a classic episode.
Well, you know more of the cultural references than me. That's one of the reasons why we have you on this show, Loudmouth. Also for your wit and other shit. Anyway.
He's hitting on you.
Like Conundrum accuses me of hitting on Rational Outlaw, right?
I mean, you both wear trench coats and look like angry lesbians sometimes.
He's not wearing a trench coat, you dingus.
He did back in the earlier days. Or looked like a trench coat.
Yeah, back when he used to have that shield for his face instead of the wolf avatar. But anyway, I digress.
Not to blame other people, but so that you can fix it. Now, were there other factors other than just Bernie Sanders running a normal race? Of course, right?
Of course. On the night, on the night of the election in 2016, he's like, "Did the whole grab it by the pussy comments make an outcome and make a difference in the outcome?" Of course, they made all the difference in the outcome. And it's like, Cenk, it's time to stop, buddy.
It wouldn't be a Cenk Uygur video without his signature. Of course, y'all.
Of course.
Or when it goes right.
No, it should be more like left, because he likes to push the spectrum left. Anyway, the Overton window, anyways.
But it's when I talk about it, it's in the context of, all right, well, then how do we get beyond that? So there are those factors, but it's our job to get past it. And then we didn't in 2016 and we didn't in 2020. So
you won't,
and you're not going to with 2024 either, as Bernie Sanders is probably going to be dead before then. You're going to have to move. You're going to have to start from scratch with a younger character. So
yeah. Actually, things that gets forgotten in the past are things you want to forget about, Cenk, just like the Armenian genocide.
Oh yeah, and by the way, Bernie Sanders has already filed for re-election for a seat in 2024 in the Senate, so he's not running in 2024 for president.
Oh,
thank God.
He'd be like 82.
Yeah.
Holy
I think Biden's too old.
Yeah, isn't there? I think I heard from War Corps that there's like some representative from his state that's like over 100 years old, and he ends up getting his food fed to him via a spoon in pudding form or something like that.
Oldest member of Congress.
Yeah.
Let's
But you
find
guys
out.
got that reference of the Armenian genocide, right? Because Cenk has a history of denying that genocide.
Right, of course.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I
that was
apologize.
a
I must have
That
not
was
been
a shot
paying.
at him for that. Yeah.
I must have not been paying that close attention. My
Yeah.
bad.
That was a big shot because genocide denial pisses me off.
Oh yeah. Thus your hatred for no bullshit.
That's not the only reason I hate no bullshit. I have quite a few reasons to hate no bullshit.
Well, of course, but that's
Well,
the only other character that I can name right off the top of my head that goes denying
the Holocaust,
genocide.
yeah, that he's denied the Holocaust. I also just hate him because he's a pea-brain lying asshole. But whatever.
Yeah.
But don't you know, loudmouth, doxing is just as bad as a parking ticket.
Yeah. Oh, I totally didn't say the shit. Even though you're citing clips of me saying it. Oh yeah, that totally wasn't from the video. It was a deep cover troll that has been working. That's been working for years and posting videos on my own channel to make me look like a fucking retard.
All right. So.
Oh man.
It doesn't do you any good to deflect. So let's do both. Let me take it one step at a time. Talk about the greatness.
I think I hear him cracking, y'all.
He's hitting puberty?
No, I think I hear his voice cracking into crying mode. That's what I'm meaning when I'm saying cracking.
How could this happen to me? I made my mistake. Got nowhere to run.
I swear I've seen that movie before that featured that song. I can't remember.
Reviews a few times.
I can't remember, but
whenever
anyway.
a character's being like emo and whiny, I'll play that song. How could this happen to me? I used it in a Gargoyles review just like a couple weeks ago.
I guess you did. I'll have to once you got like the
entire where Goliath becomes a human. Yeah, the one before Serve Mankind. The one where everyone learned that we must destroy Egon Pax.
Egon Pax. But yeah, anyway, so people check out Loudmouth Reviews' channel, and check out his the Goliath Chronicles reviews. And I guess I'll have to like give the entire series a rewatch, Loudmouth, once you got it all finished up.
Just remember the fact that Egon Pax must be destroyed.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
The great things that Bernie Sanders did. Let's talk about a tiny bit about why we lost and what we could do differently. And then let's talk about Joe Biden and if he could beat Trump. And then again,
Probably not, but anyway.
This will be laid out better in the full show, 6:00 Eastern, as it is every single day. Make sure you're watching live.
Chill.
By the way, thank you for keeping us sustainable throughout this, and we got to keep going. And I'm going to tell you our battle plan in a second. tyt.com/go to make
Fuck
sure
yourself.
Get on with it. But I guess is what I get for not doing an edited reaction video.
Turks is that progressive voice.
Sucks.
And now
Progressive voice. He just shilled Sahil, everybody. No.
the light in what will be probably at least 4 years of darkness. Whether you think that's Trump, Biden, establishment, we'll talk through that in a second as well. Okay.
4 more years of darkness. Even if I was to like look at it from your point of view, 4 more years of darkness would be if Trump had control of the House. And if Kavanaugh really was a pro-lifer that wanted to fully repeal Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
Which I've said before, people, I doubt that Brett Kavanaugh really is that passionate of a pro-lifer and anti-RVWer.
So, number one, in terms of Bernie Sanders, look, the guy pushed for all the things that we are having national conversations about. And everybody knows it now that he's dropped out. Every mainstream media article I read was like, oh my God, he's amazing. The same guys who yesterday were saying, what a terrible bastard, radical, terrible, can't have him, no way. Now they turn around and they're like, well, obviously, he wrote the damn bill. I mean, it's Medicare for all. The reason we're having a conversation about it is because of legendary Bernie Sanders.
And think of him as, if I was to be generous, Cenk, think of him as basically the Barry Goldwater of the left. Like Barry Goldwater obviously did not, he did not win any elections, but he started off a bit of a legacy of his own despite not winning not winning the presidency.
Yeah,
And then Ronald Reagan kind of picked up on that one more or less and started his own legacy. So TYT are going to have to go for someone else to pick up on the Bernie Sanders legacy. Maybe it'll be Andrew Yang in 2024. Who knows? And hello, memes in the chat. Memes of destruction.
I'll say this. I mean, yeah, Goldwater was a member of the Phoenix City Council and a senator, and sure, he didn't beat LBJ, but 16 years later, it would be the Democrats who would take the beating, slightly worse than Goldwater did, and I think that's a consolation.
Yep. I mean, just think of it this way. The pendulum is obviously going to swing leftward by 2024. I'm just bracing myself for the obvious, folks. With the kind of pattern that we have had ever since the loss of H. Bush, it's been having that kind of a 2-year presidential term swing from left to right, you know?
Who knows?
A $15 minimum wage, that's the one I want to focus on. Look, there's Green New Deal.
Yeah, and New York City and Seattle is evidence as to how the $15 minimum wage is not going to work. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember there was an article that complained that after the minimum wage spike that employers were cutting hours. I'm like, duh.
Is that the New York Times article that I had reviewed on Strikeforce?
I'm not sure if it was the same article, but I'm like, just like, duh.
I'll have to show you the highlight clip of me reading that article with Conundrum via DMs or something.
Yeah, the only response you can make to that headline is just, duh. All you need. It's like one of those Jay Leno headlines. Remember those? Like cloudy during the day, dark at night. China uses sea to hide submarines. The sun is the leading cause of sunburns. Experts in jet crash say something went wrong.
Oh, geez. I just noticed something in the live chat. Lonely Wolf said, if this right here is what progressivism looks like, give me a KKK uniform.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my gosh. I'm calling out Lonely Wolf for down to beat. No, I'm not.
I'm okay. Lonely Wolf says in the chat. Lonely Wolf says in the chat, if it's been aborted, it becomes dog food. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I am convinced, with his pro-bestiality stance that he was making, that that probably him and No Bullshit are half brothers, and their dad was a silverback gorilla.
Their dad was a Harambe. No, I'm kidding.
Was a silverback gorilla.
That's a face that does peanut butter and chill with the dog. Oh my God.
I mean, they say that gorillas and humans can't produce offspring, but how do you explain this? Clearly, we'll take that science.
Where'd you find talking about peanut butter?
Oh, it's from earlier in the chat. It's one of Lonely Wolf's earlier messages. It's between sent one 1000 and a miffed cuttlefish.
That's a face that says peanut butter and chill with the dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
God, that's.
Anyway, I'm going to get on with this. We're going to at least go up to the 5-minute mark, and then we'll probably call it good from there.
So there's so many different things that progressives care about, and getting the corrupting influence of money out. Bernie Sanders set a new standard for how you can raise small dollar donations. All those things were amazing and important. But let's say $15.
Good for you, buddy. You want a cookie? You want a bacon grease cookie?
Yeah,
he looks like he's had enough of those for
your opponent and still lost. That's no accomplishment, dude.
And especially considering, I'm sorry, like Cenk has probably had enough cookies for a lifetime. And I wrote this in the private chat, but I'm going to say it out loud. Cenk looks like the kind of guy who would be banned from animal shelters for life.
JC Armitage just said it in the chat. LOL, did he say a milfed cuttlefish?
I didn't mean to. I don't know if I'm dyslexic or something. That's a joke at my expense, but fuck.
Hey, milfed cuttlefish, you might want to run. I think S-Man is hitting on you.
Not in your fucking life. No. Okay, now you don't
want to be you don't want to those MILF cuttlefish. It'd be very painful to fuck up cuttlefish. It'd probably be extremely painful.
Yeah, I'm not looking to have a sex change. Okay, I don't intend to do that.
This is awesome, y'all.
Minimum wage, because it's a perfect example. When he started pushing for it, now at least 5 years ago, people are like, "That's radical. There's no way that's going to happen. What an insane radical, paying people wages that for minimum wage jobs where they can actually live." Oh no!
Except those jobs aren't meant to live off of, you economically illiterate motherfucker.
Yeah.
Minimum wage, national minimum wage is $7.25. It is brutally, inhumanely low.
Inhumanely.
Who works for it though? There might as well not be a minimum wage because like, even the lowest paid jobs pay like $10 an hour now.
I'm trying to remember.
The laws of supply and demand drive wages up.
S-Man, you remember of when that Chatsberg decided to say that I'm all right with rich people oppressing working people?
Yeah, I remember a certain Chatsberg going off on several nuclear takes, especially one of those. And
then I was all like oppressed, quote unquote. I feel like the same circumstance right here. Inhumanely, quote unquote. I'm sorry, but paying you a low, crappy wage is not inhumane. What is inhumane is listen to Inhumane Mind for one thing, but what is inhumane is torturing you, is bounding you up, dragging you off to a basement, torturing you, and raping you and all that shit.
What's also inhumane is not having sex with a woman equals abortion, and it's a heterosexual position only below one guy. Those quotes from him are also very inhumane.
I remember that one.
I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, that you're not heterosexual unless you've had sex, which was one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard in my life. God damn.
Dude, but the whole not having sex with a woman equaling abortion, I was like, what the actual fuck? I don't care if you're pro-life or pro-choice. I don't care if you're pro-life or pro-choice, but if you actually say that, I'm going to assume you're very special.
Humane is special. Special kind of stupid. Wait, what? Did I say that out loud? Never mind.
Wow, you fucking ableist. You hate Asian people.
The House Democrats, the establishment ran on, we're going to get you $15 minimum wage in 2018. They won. They passed that bill in the House. Credit where credit is due. But who made that happen?
Someone.
Okay.
Not an ad.
Fucking ads.
Hey, if you support socialism and are against capitalism, why are you monetizing your videos, asshole?
But what was I going to say? I actually remember that back during the Obama years that they were trying to push for it to be higher than 725. Like in Obama's first 2 years, got it to be raised up to 725. And throughout the time that John Boehner, yeah, that's what his name is. God, the guy is so irrelevant. I practically forgot his name. But John Boehner's Congress was actually preventing that. I succinctly remember that. It might not have been a $15 minimum wage, but they were likely getting incrementally up to that position, Cenk. So loudmouth, yeah, my bad, loudmouth. Bernie Sanders is not exactly ahead of the times in that sort of fashion. Anyway.
Oh, here's some good news just in from the Spectator. China denies it covered up the extent of the coronavirus outbreak.
Expose them, loudmouth. Expose them.
Obviously, we should totally believe the Chinese government. They would never lie about anything. They had nothing to do with the coronavirus getting out. It clearly started in Japan. And also on June 4th, 1989, nothing happened at all. It was a swell day all around China.
China has never lied, ever. They're so fair with trade. They're so fair with human rights. China is permanently China, and it's... They may eat bats, but believe me, bats are
I talked to a bro from China the other day. I asked him, how are things over there? He said, I can't complain.
Oh, jeez.
He said he couldn't complain, and I believe him.
Yes, he can't complain. Or else!
JC Armitage in the chat says, oh, I'll never forget who John Boehner was. I'll let you figure out as to why.
It took me forever to realize how...
Boner.
Yeah, it took me a while to realize how the fuck you pronounce his name. I was like,
Myth Cuttlefish says, and they just joined the UN Human Rights Commission. Yeah, they might as well, with that logic, might as well elect the town pyromaniac as your fire chief while you're at it.
Oh, jeez.
that's like electing Edward Scissorhands as your gynecologist.
Yeah, the UN Human Rights Council is a fucking joke. I mean, not only is China on there, Saudi Arabia is there. All right, there's Somalia, which doesn't even have a functioning government. They might as well add North Korea there next.
And hello.
Don't give them any ideas.
Yeah, don't give them any ideas. Probably in 2 years, North Korea will be part of it. I swear to God.
And hello, newcomer. Welcome to Strike Force.
Who do we have?
There's no
I'm talking about Ivan's son in the chat there.
dispute over it. That was indisputably the reigning champion of progressives and people who actually care about the Democratic Party and the Democratic.
Actually, I would kind of disagree. FDR is the reigning champion because he actually became president.
Yeah.
Yep. Bernie doesn't have had a leg to stand on, unlike FDR.
Oh, wait. That is a very ironic statement right there, you know? I guess that's kind of the point, though.
You're damn right it was.
Although, if I was to give credit, FDR was for interning Japanese Americans. Bernie Sanders has at least not come out being for that anyways.
He's for interring your fucking paychecks.
Yeah.
Your what?
Your paychecks.
Oh, right.
Democratic Party living up to its ideals and not being Republican light, but being actual Democratic Party. That was Bernie Sanders. He pushed $15 minimum wage. Then Nancy Pelosi brags about how she got a pass through when she was the one fighting it in the first place. But good. That's great. That's how progress works. I'm super happy to have Pelosi on our side now on that fight. Now we got to beat the Republicans. But
there's the evidence right there, folks. He admits that the Democrats are becoming further left in a way, folks. But I think I'm going to like
for a long time though.
I cannot stand Nancy Pelosi. Like, I'm sorry, whenever she smiles, like my eyes slowly commit suicide.
Well, what do you say, Loudmouth?
I said we've known that for a long time.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sure I would agree, but you know how progressives are typically. They're all like, the Democrats are right wing. Actually, they aren't really left wing. When really,
because
Cenk Uygur just admitted Democrats becoming further left.
They don't send everyone to right wing to the gulag or what? Jeez.
Well, basically, they're all like, well, just because they may have supported one policy or they weren't as far left as me, they may as well be the next Ronald Reagan, because I understand politics and political science, and I'm as politically literate as a 4-year-old.
Joe Biden is the next Ronald Reagan, y'all.
I'm the only candidate that can defeat Dwight Eisenhower, Joe Biden 2020.
Oh, jeez.
If he actually said that, I would literally change my profile to be a Biden Stan account for one day. Just mocking.
I would be scared for this country at that point.
If Joe Biden is elected president, we need to invoke the 25th Amendment like within 5 seconds of him assuming office.
But anyway, so I guess we're going to move on from that because I'm getting bored of Cenk already.
Let's keep going. We're having fun ripping on this asshole.
All right, a little bit longer. We'll save
That's what she said.
Next video for later.
But if it wasn't for guys like Bernie Sanders, but in this case, really, literally Bernie Sanders doing it, we never would have had it. We never would have gotten to this place, let alone when we finally, hopefully, get victory. Because now Biden says, $15 minimum wage. Yeah, of course, me, $15. I want $15 minimum wage.
The guy's being so spastic, he shook his own camera.
Loudmouth, you're giving the blowjob of a lifetime to whoever you have at your house right now. Dear God.
That sounded like a whole lot of cum too.
Jesus Christ.
Sounds like Cookie Monster, says Mev Cuttlefish. And JC Armitage says, makes me wonder who's more mentally inept, AOC or Biden.
Okay, I mean,
I'll be fair and say Biden.
Well, I'd say Biden has had more mental competency than she does when she said there was the
great gaffe. So was one we have to be about regarding the CCP virus. He's like, well, we have to be worried about the cure.
Right.
Yes, that's what keeps me afraid that they'll find a cure for this virus.
Miffed Cuttlefish, or as S-Man would refer to as Milfed Cuttlefish, said, sounds like Cookie Momster. Well, actually, that's not Cenk Uygur.
Son of a bitch.
You are actually the Cookie Momster, Miffed Cuttlefish, as you have like admitted before on in my live chats before.
And you said now you just made the gaffe too. Or it sounds like you stuttered there, but anyway, but okay.
Because I almost said milfed.
Yeah, and now you just did. Anyway, I'm looking on my screen. I'm looking at Cenk. He looks like he's explaining to us why Anna Kasparian is better than us.
Yeah, Anna Kasparian is much better than us because we are garbage.
No, she's much better than us because she has a 6 head and we all have just regular 4 heads.
Yeah, I mean, her hairline is receding worse than fucking Cenk's because she's fucking better than you. Fucking garbage. No.
You know what? Now that I think about it, I think Anna's hair might just be receding faster than Cenk's.
Maybe, just maybe, she accidentally had a dose of testosterone.
Oh, shit.
Twitter thinking emoji.
Okay, moving on.
Good. I want him saying that. But who made that happen? Everyone knows it, and now even the mainstream media acknowledges it. Yes, it was the heroic work of Bernie Sanders.
Heroic work of Bernie Sanders. He acts like as if Bernie Sanders stormed the beaches of Normandy.
Yeah. Bernie Sanders saved 12 kids from a burning building last week. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders
did not pull his weight and break his back on actual back-breaking work. Total hero.
Oh, my God.
So the guy did not change his positions for 45 straight years through incredible,
I kind of want to call bullshit. I cannot remember exact specifics, but I do remember the stories. Didn't he kind of do a flip-flop on Venezuela, for example?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
when Venezuela was experiencing a brief period of growth, he was excited for the socialism there, and then when it all collapsed, he's like, "Well, that wasn't real socialism."
Oh, I remember hearing like a recent thing about how he says that a woman can't be president or something along those lines.
I don't think he actually said that. I think
that Elizabeth Warren was lying.
I mean,
what? Oh, okay. You're right. You're right, Loudmouth. My bad.
Elizabeth Warren is a lying snake.
Yeah, honestly, she finally endorsed Joe Biden recently, but
she looks like a snake with a monkey's face.
She had as much. We are all more Native American than she had a chance of being president. Okay. I cannot stand that bitch. There are people I know who
I hate that woman 10 times more than any other Democrat. I really despise her.
Really?
I mean, I don't like Sanders or Biden, but goddamn Warren, that woman is just pure evil.
And you like Tulsi Gabbard the best amongst them all for obvious reasons.
Yeah, probably. Mostly just because I love the way she roasted Kamala Harris that one time. Damn.
Yeah.
Did you say canola Harris?
Camilla Harris.
It sounded like you said canola, like canola oil.
Did I don't know.
Anyhow, I mean, to be fair though, I mean, she was kind of hot. Tulsi Gabbard, not gonna lie, but I mean, anyhow, yeah, I mean, she's not a neocon like the rest of them. So, sadly though, she didn't get the nod, and now the hair sniffing, pony face dog soldier, however the fuck that insult goes, is now going to be facing the pussy grabber in November. God help us all.
Americans are concerned about one 3-letter word: jobs. JOBS, jobs.
Thank you for reminding me of that quote. Thank you for reminding me. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven without coming across a guy who has an Indian accent.
Yeah, that one. There's a whole bunch.
Never forget 7-Eleven. Sorry, whenever I hear that, I just laugh my ass off because it's like I know he meant 9/11.
Amy, if you want a weapon to defend yourself, buy a shotgun. Remember that one?
Yeah. They made a remix of that. That was pretty fucking good.
Night Shift 10,000 says L Pussy Grabber Extraordinaire versus L Hair Sniffer Extraordinaire.
Oh,
Or
fuck.
Extraordinaire, I guess. I don't know.
You're so fucking white. I'm kidding.
The fuck? Actually, yeah, I am probably the whitest one on this panel right here, as you are like a quarter Mexican, and Loudmouth is mostly olive skin.
He works at Olive Garden because of that. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, jeez.
No, I don't.
Unbelievable pressure. Be a team player. Be a team player. Just sell out. Just do you don't know. Small change, compromise, small. You're actually trying to get people healthcare. Everyone in the country healthcare for free, like every other nation on earth. How dare you, Bernie Sanders? And he was
Not exactly. I mean, Switzerland does not fully pay their citizens healthcare. It's subsidized partially, but the citizens still pay for their own healthcare.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, the whole. This is why I think Republicans have a better time in divided government than Democrats. Well, depending on what the issue is, Democrats. If Cenk Uygur was president, which God help us, I would hope to God there's a veto-proof Republican Congress so Cenk doesn't get a fucking thing done. The whitest kids you know.
Right. That's right. I'm one of the whitest kids you'll ever know, Night Shift. Thanks for rubbing it in. Rubbing it in.
That's
what she said.
Anyway.
Did that for 45 years, and he carried us on his shoulder. So, we.
And that's why he lost, because his back is broken from all that shoulder carrying, Cenk.
Talking about that Catholic.
What?
The cartilage in his knees are gone because of how much he's been having to suck Biden's dick as of recently.
Oh, shit.
Oh, boy.
And Hillary Clinton's. Wait, what?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Michelle Obama. No, I'm kidding. But anyway.
Crozier video this week where he's relieved of command because he was trying to save his sailors. And as he's walking off the ship, all the sailors go on deck and start chanting, Captain Crozier. And that's where we are right now. Captain Sanders. Okay.
Colonel
Actually,
Sanders.
It would be Colonel Sanders. Because KFC reference. You know what? I'm going to just say, like back in 2016 or 2017, that I saw the comment section of a video. There was a guy that actually said, I would have at least hoped that Bernie would have become president so that we could have just nicknamed him the Colonel. Anyway.
My captain. No one is perfect. He was nowhere near perfect, but he was phenomenal.
You're damn right, motherfucker.
And he was the best of us. So
really, even better than AOC.
Don't get me wrong, he's still alive.
In his point of view, anyways, even better than AOC in his point of view, because as far as I'm concerned, I mean, even Chatsberg, I think he's said it before that AOC is a little bit further left and more consistently principled than Bernie Sanders, supposedly, anyways.
By principled, you mean fucking insane?
Yeah,
we need to take
on the left.
We need to take back both.
We need to regulate cow farts. Yeah.
We need to take back all three houses of Congress. I mean, I'm sorry. When she said that, I'm like, okay, this is why you don't elect children to the House of Representatives or any part of the government.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite Babylon Bee articles was a congressional staff forced AOC to watch Schoolhouse Rocks. Oh yeah. There's been a lot of good ones from the Babylon Bee. There was one that a Wuhan lab post signed. It's been 0 days since they released a deadly virus.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Exactly.
Here. And now he did 39 or 43, depending on how you're counting, rallies for Hillary Clinton. He'll probably do 45 for Joe Biden. And of course, they'll say it wasn't enough. Of course. We're going to get to that in a second. So,
okay, well, hang on. Look, I just want to say this. I don't believe Bernie Sanders is responsible for Hillary Clinton losing to Donald Trump, nor do I think that he'll be responsible for Joe Biden losing to Donald Trump. the candidate that lost is 100% to blame for losing. And I think that I don't think Bernie is necessarily going to cost Biden votes or help him gain any votes. But I think that, I mean, Biden, if Biden wins, he'll be the luckiest motherfucker on the planet, considering his track record is worse than Hillary Clinton's is, without question. So the fact that Bernie has lost...
To play devil's advocate, though, Joe Biden at least doesn't either directly or indirectly have blood on his hands.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, she was Secretary of State. He was Vice President. I mean, they both did vote in the Congress to go into Iraq. So maybe
there is that, but it fell even more under Hillary Clinton's jurisdiction of what was going on with Benghazi.
Yeah, and causing indirectly the slave trade in Libya, which that was. I mean, anyone who points that out is correct. That was a fucking disaster. Slave trade
in Libya. Was that? Did that have something to do with Benghazi?
No. There was this. I think it was Muammar Gaddafi, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Was taken out. Pretty much. Yeah, he was taken out, and the power vacuum pretty much came in, and the area in which the Libyan slave trade before her tenure as Secretary of State but before the Obama administration came into powers, actually in slightly better state of affairs before the end of the Obama presidency.
All right, then. Sorry, I was muting one of my tabs there.
Bernie Sanders, that's why we love him. If you don't get that by now, you're never going to get it because you're dense. The one guy who was honest for 45 years, pushed for all the things that we want, and got the country in those directions. No. Did Joe Biden lead the Democratic Party in those directions? And the direction it's going in now? No. He begrudgingly accepted where Bernie Sanders was leading. Okay, but it is what it is, and it's done. So let's now talk about, just real quick, why did Bernie Sanders lose? We'll have more of this later. Well,
he didn't have the fault is a way of life.
Because he didn't have the balls to attack Joe Biden. This is exactly why. Bernie Sanders, I agree with Naked Ape, his video called Bernie Sanders will never be president. And then the video, he has a subtitle that says, "This cuck will never be president." And he's fucking right. Because Bernie Sanders doesn't have the goddamn spine. He doesn't even have a toothpick of a spine to actually go after Biden on anything. And when he did, it was way too late.
Yeah, I remember back during the primaries of 2016, Bernie Sanders was quicker to endorse Hillary Clinton than Ted Cruz was to endorse Donald Trump, although I'm still salty over the fact that he ultimately buckled and did endorse Donald Trump midway through the general election. Salty, that's not exactly the right wording, but it was still disappointing in a way, but that's a long story.
As I talked about earlier, personal responsibility. I think he should have chosen one of two paths. Either don't change any of his policies, but find a way to make moderates comfortable. And they just couldn't get comfortable. And it's on us to make them comfortable. So you can't say, oh, it's their fault for not being comfortable with it. I hear you, but we're in an election. Our job is to win. If we don't win, you don't win. And that's on you. Okay?
No, the person who gets the most votes wins. The person who scores the most points also, I heard, wins every football game.
By the way, Cenk, I mean, you definitely know about not making people comfortable. I mean, after your own election loss, and just by the way you
and all of his spurg outs on a host panel during TYT sessions.
Whenever that you started a YouTube channel with the name of a group that committed the Armenian genocide. That was the group that committed the Armenian genocide. They were called the Young Turks. They murdered 1 million people. Fuck you, Cenk.
War against Saudi Arabia, you dumbass. We talk about that all the time. I'm sorry. I have to make fun of him every time for that because he sounded like such a spurge lord.
Yep.
Yeah, he really. Yeah, the guy's got a short fuse.
The one time
shorter than his dick.
The one time that Alex Jones actually managed to look good, Cenk Uygur actually managed to do it. Make Alex Jones look good.
Yeah,
he made Alex Jones look normal.
Oh, what? Sorry, what you say, Loudmouth?
It's that only Cenk Uygur could possibly pull that off. that takes some serious effort.
Yep.
I'm a legitimate spurge, and I'm not that spurge.
Yeah, the national media, of course, was overwhelming. So look, to go back to the first part, Democratic establishment 100% against Bernie Sanders. Is it because they're corrupt and they want to keep money in politics and have the consultants, lobbyists in charge, et cetera? Yes, absolutely. Is because they don't want to do Medicare for all because they all take corrupt bribes from the drug companies and
it's because it's a bad policy.
Absolutely, that's right. Okay, but
wait,
if you want to win an election.
Sorry, what did you say?
I like how I said it's a bad policy, and then right after he ends up saying, "Yeah, you're right," or something like that. I love
right.
5,000 rights later, Bernie Sanders is like retiring from the Senate finally. 35 million years later.
Oh, jeez.
It's your job to fight against that machine and to beat that machine. And so that machine exists. We knew that going in. You can't say, I can't believe that the machine existed. Of course. And we didn't get past it. Now, the unfair part is not that. That's your opponents within the party. That's life. The unfair part was the national media, who are supposed to be the refs.
Oh, boy.
I like how in 2016, fucking Bernie Sanders had 57% opposition in the Democratic Party, and now it's 63%. Good job. Your support regressed instead of increased. Good fucking job.
Wow. Yeah. I guess that's what TYT gets for acting retarded. They make other progressives associated with them look bad at the same time. Oh, Bernie Sanders, he's endorsed by that retarded ass group, the Young Turks. Oh, I don't feel so comfortable about Bernie Sanders. Let me see the other options here.
If people renounced your endorsement of them.
Right. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, Bernie.
That's cold.
I was trying to look.
Talking for a guy who renounced your endorsement of him. I mean, that's not like asking you to be your running mate or something. They just said, "Hey, I endorse you." Oh, that's cool. Wait, no, you have to renounce this endorsement because that's how repugnant you are. Yes, he thought it would hurt his campaign just for you to support him, Cenk.
And yeah, the refs threw the game. Every call was against Bernie Sanders, holding, bring it back, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he did. Radical. Oh, he says the same exact thing as Obama did about Fidel Castro. The Washington Post just wrote, part of the reason he lost is because he's a radical who supported Fidel Castro. You disingenuous propaganda, manufacturing consent hacks, okay? And they gave hundreds of millions of
manufacturing consent. What the fuck does that even mean?
That's a little bit creepy.
Manufacturing consent.
Why do I feel like Cenk's an expert at that? No,
so when a marriage happens, that is just basically manufacturing consent.
You know that there's some really dark jokes I can make about that phrase, but I'm not going to go there.
Hey, it's Strike Force, not Loudmouth Stream. Anyway, I guess if you don't want to, though.
No.
Dollars in free propaganda for establishment candidates. Initially, Buttigieg was their beloved knight in shining armor. No matter what he did, they give him positive coverage. And then eventually at the end, when it was Bernie versus Biden, Biden, electable Joe Biden, the greatest Joe Biden. He's so electable. He's the most wonderful Joe Biden. Radical Bernie Sanders could destroy the Democratic Party. As soon as he took a lead, they weren't like, oh, congratulations, he has the lead. They were like, what are we going to do? The Democrats are going to lose. They're going to lose. They're going to lose. Everybody, they're going to lose if you pick Bernie. Don't vote for Bernie. Whatever you do, don't vote for Bernie. It was in every cable news coverage. Anyone who denied it.
This man's audience is over 1,000 times bigger than mine, and I'm just where did I go wrong in life?
Yeah, like
you were not spurging hard enough, apparently, Loudmouth.
No, yeah. I guess not.
I mean, this is okay. I'm just going to preface right here, folks. This may be entertaining watching right here him like in front of a camera, but imagine if it was in person and not in front of a camera instead.
I feel bad for the camera.
I'd be cringing. I'd be cringing real bad.
I feel bad for his camera having to look at that face.
And, if other people were around, like on a panel with him doing his typical play-by-play news videos, they would be kind of slouching in their seats, being like, Cenk, please stop.
Yeah.
It proves how maniacally biased they are.
He was in an airport doing that, says Myth Cuddlefish. That is very true. And she also says, I'm scared to eat Chinese as man speaks.
Well, I'm not Chinese. I'm joking. But look, no. The reason I did that was mainly because as a joke about the whole coronavirus. Also, the apparently that's a coughing emoji, like coughing your arm emoji, not a dabbing emoji. Is a joke. Fuck.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Up above. I wrote some fun comments.
Everybody, look, I don't even think MSNBC or New York Times could, with a straight face, say, "Oh no, our coverage was fair." I mean, we told you the upsides and downsides of Bernie, but actually, they probably will say that because they're.
I don't think you could give a political commentary at all with a straight face.
This is probably the worst video I've ever seen of his, and that's saying something. Like I've seen a lot of really bad videos from this guy, but this one, this is incoherent. This is how would he feel comfortable posting this?
I think he had to edit this himself because his editors were like, "Cenk, we're not wasting our time with this garbage."
Cenk couldn't pay them enough to do that.
Bad for the bandwidth on the internet that's wasted on this fucking video.
Or as Darkon said 3 years ago, the waste of internet space that is this video.
I mean, there's proud servers in a giant cloud network that's wasting space on this fucking video. It's a tragedy, I tell you.
All the bandwidth that is being wasted on his waistline.
I mean, you also realize, okay, that all our videos are being broadcast into space at the speed of light, right? So if there are any intelligent aliens, okay, with any light distance, by the time this video gets there, they are going to destroy the Earth.
Yeah, they're gonna. They're not.
Oh god, this buffalo
as soon as the light reaches their Earth and they watch this video, they're going to grab on their warp drives, come over here, and blast this planet.
Oh god, this buffalo-looking baboon. He's torturing all the people of Earth with his spurginess. Yes. That's it. We need to save them from their misery. Destroy Earth.
Yes.
When they actually come to Earth, they'll see a sign that says, "Sorry, Earth is closed at the moment. Please return later."
Yeah. So I guess in that respect, maybe I do hope that the coronavirus lasts a little bit longer. Joking. Total joke, people.
Yeah.
But no real person believes that. You could ask the Republicans, for example, and they're not the best judge of anything. But in this case, they look at it from that.
Neither are you, fucker.
Outside. Was the national media in favor or against Bernie Sanders? In favor or against Joe Biden? Everyone will tell you the same thing. I mean, that'll be 90-10 if you did a poll. Yeah, they were against Bernie Sanders and they were in favor of establishment candidates like Biden. Denying it is so... It makes you seem like a bigger liar when you go, "Oh no, I don't see it." Okay, but anyway, I can't help.
Hang on. Before Biden was declared as a presidential candidate, we all remember about this kind of time last year when it was like, is he going to run? They did a fuck ton of coverage, extremely unfavorable coverage about the fact that Joe Biden was accused of sexual misconduct, kind of getting up too close and personal with young girls. They're mentioning how he treated Anita Hill, how he voted for the war in Iraq. I mean, there was unfavorable coverage of Joe Biden, and they still do unfavorable coverage every here and there. It's not a totally pro-Biden, a pro-Bidenist wave of coverage that is making America dumb again.
That is a fair point, S-Man. I don't recall any sex allegation coverage being done of Bernie Sanders by the mainstream media.
Well, to be fair, he can't get it up. So, I mean.
Wow. Yeah, because socialism always leads you down.
I can't afford. I can't do the accent, but he can't afford his erectile dysfunction pills.
I just realized right now that I probably should have gone full screen at the beginning of this, but here we are, folks.
do that, it was a massive amount of basically free advertising that went against Bernie Sanders. A giant factor. Obviously, none of the media articles mentioned, oh, by the way, the biggest factor in the race was us. We threw it against Bernie and we threw it in favor.
Is that evidence for how little known you are, Cenk? I mean, look at this video right here. Look at this. Look at this.
How many views has it got?
A little under 200,000 views.
What's
You
the, like,
are not
dislike
exactly in
ratio?
your heyday right now, Cenk. Your heyday was like, I don't know what.
Yeah, I have
2014,
videos that's
15?
done that well, and I'm a fucking nobody.
Dark what's the like dislike ratio?
It's not that bad, relatively speaking, for a TYT video. I mean, it's like 7-2, roughly. Basically.
That's a very, very bad ratio in terms of smart people versus stupid people. I'm sorry, but no, this is basically like he's not like, oh, we need to take responsibility for why the progressives need to take responsibility for why Bernie lost. Most of you fuckers didn't vote. Younger voters who didn't vote that totally supported Bernie, and honestly, I laugh because we need free college, free healthcare, but we're not going to actually vote for that shit because reasons. It's like the sadomasochism of the progressives is just beautiful. It's just epic as fuck.
Hey, yes, man. Think of me of a meme because this is a very meme-worthy face right here.
Fuck, what is it? That face when you talk about personal responsibility yet blame others for Bernie Chan losing. or that face when you go up to Montana and you see your fellow Buffalo after a long quarantine during mating season. And with that video about his video about bestiality that may take on a whole new meaning.
We should do a response. You know what I'm really wanting to find to do a review, but I don't know if I can find a copy.
What?
On China Uncensored, they were showcasing a lot of the garbage that is playing prime time there, and about 30% of the television content on Chinese TV is stuff about Japanese soldiers being murdered. And I was watching clips of this shit. It's insane. It's basically kind of reenactments of World War II, but it's not remotely historically accurate. Like there's some shit of with a kung fu master who just goes through and just starts hacking Japanese soldiers to bits with his bare hands, like karate chopping them in half. I'm like, and there's one where a Chinese soldier throws a grenade into the air and it blows up a Japanese fighter jet with his bare hands. And I'm like, I got to find one of these fucking movies. These are insane.
All right.
It's hateful propaganda, but it still would make for a good review.
I don't know about you guys, but I think I might be pretty much done with this video, or do you want to continue on?
I don't care. You decide. It's the DarkCon channel.
Loudmouth?
I don't know.
It's ironic they call themselves the Young Turks when Anna's tits are sagging and fucking Cenk's hair is gray.
Yeah, look at that
Graying.
gray, and look at that fucking double chin. I almost want to say that's a triple chin, actually.
It's about to be a triple chin. That chin is bigger than a double-decker bus in the United Kingdom.
But anyway, so we'll go on to the next video. Now, this is a chair view video right here, folks. So let me premise. This is absolutely nothing against chair view. I don't have anything against the guy, really. Generally speaking, I think he's a smart guy, but there's just some things that were kind of off base and said in this video in particular of his. And if either Chair View or his co-host Dead Kyle come and watch this stream and wants to offer me up on a live stream or ask me if I can host a live stream to have them on an episode of Strike Force, well, then I'm all open to that. But I just wanted to give some live, more in-depth commentary about this. I'd already left a comment underneath this video, but I still wanted to in regard to that. And plus, the subject in general of growth in government in light of the coronavirus is actually a very prevalent issue. What do you two have to say about that subject in general?
It's undeniable that there is a growth in government. I mean, even without the coronavirus, they will find a way. I mean, with the almost hundreds of thousands of pages of new regulations they managed to write, both in a lame duck period and a regular yearly cycle, and looking at the new laws that they're making during this time of the coronavirus, and especially how they don't have a sunset period, and look at what they were willing to do with writers added in the legislation, like mandating diversity in corporate boards, tax credits for solar panels, among other issues that have nothing to do with it. They're going to take advantage of this crisis to get their ideological wish list encoded into federal law. Yeah, I mean, just like how they did with when after 9/11 with creating the Department of Homeland Security under George W. Bush, including other I
remember when that was created.
Yeah, that was probably one of the worst departments created, other than actually, no, that's probably one of the worst government departments created, and I would totally dismantle that if I ever had the chance and the support in Congress to do so.
Do you guys think this martial law will ever end? Asks JC Armitage. I don't think it's like technically martial law just
it's
yet.
Martial law.
But
I mean, pretty much is.
You know, some of the measures I understand, like closing down, like
the National Guard. The National Guard hasn't been deployed yet, though.
Yeah, I understand a lot of that shit, but what I don't get is some of the measures. Like I've heard of people being harassed for walking their dogs in an empty area. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, like
Claire Wright alleges that she got fined for not wearing a mask, even though she was not anywhere at all.
That's
on the walk she took.
Yeah, I defended Blair White during that whole thing. Like if I was walking Bear or Cinnamon, my dogs, for those who don't know, if I was walking them and I'm the only person around, I'm not gonna wear a fucking mask. That is a waste of masks. And if anyone has a problem with it, they can go eat a fucking coronavirus infested bat for all I care.
Yeah,
and the fucking.
I like posted that meme from South Park, that episode with Randy. Oh, I thought this was America. What is this, a communist country or something? I thought this was America.
Actually, yes, it is a communist. Well, actually, increasingly.
Well, in that episode, it's one of my favorite episodes. Randy would constantly get into fights with other dads at his son's baseball games, and he'd always end up at the end just beat to a bloody pulp with his shirt off, and the cops would be walking into their cars, and he'd always say like, "Oh, what? I'm not allowed to stand up for myself? I thought this was America."
By the way, I want to point out about 10 days ago, the Wisconsin National Guard did play a role in helping people go and vote in their elections on the 7th of April. So they have deployed the National Guard in some cases.
Yeah, in some cases, although technically martial law would be if the president was taking unilateral control of the entire military and so forth. And as far as like the whole talking point of growth of government, like you were going on, S-Man, about more regulations being put in, like midnight regulations. Obviously, that's the case. But my thing is just that it's becoming ever more so exponential and noticeable with the coronavirus in very obvious everyday life ways.
Well, yeah, I was just pointing out that historically speaking, before the coronavirus, you have midnight regulations as well as the regulatory power the president has anyway. So it was growing even beforehand, and with this, it's just growing at a little faster rate. With the examples I mentioned earlier in the bills that were debated before the Congress.
And what was a big thing here in Michigan? Like some of the governor's actions are really ridiculous. Like there's actually a rule that you, if you like own two houses, like if you own a cabin, you're not allowed to travel to your own cabin. I'm like, what the fuck? How does that spread the virus?
You need a new fucking governor. She is fucking insane.
Yeah, there was even a parody of it in the Babylon Bee that said Xi Jinping praises the totalitarian policies of Michigan's governor.
Oh yes, Governor Whitmer is best governor. No, I'm kidding. Wisconsin sheriff tried to tell a 16-year-old to delete an Instagram post. I hope that Wisconsin sheriff shoots himself in the fucking foot.
Oh jeez.
I'm sorry. That's a literal First Amendment violation.
What was the post?
I have no idea, but I'm assuming that more likely than not, it was
Like, was it illegal? Was it like a threat or something?
If it was a threat or illegal, I would say then okay. Like if it was actually illegal and not unconstitutionally a law passed, I'd say fine, make the 16-year-old delete the post. Other than that, I would tell the Wisconsin sheriff to like get fucked entirely because he does not have the he can recommend they delete the post. He doesn't have the goddamn right to make them delete the post.
Right.
My jam. No.
I just want to say that I kind of like his past intros a little bit better, especially that one with the Muppet puppet character. That's just a little bit of a video quality critique. No biggie, though.
But Tupac.
From Dan Dix is apparently of a protest in Vancouver, Canada, by people who are apparently protesting in order to end the coronavirus lockdown/quarantine. Yes, I know it sounds ridiculous to most of us who use logic. I've heard about some places beginning to ease up on
not exactly. I mean, I do want to premise people that I am for people like generally staying at home so as to not spread it around so much, especially to large groups and to older and sicker people. But it's more of a liberties issue as to why that people are doing this more.
Yeah, well, there's a very different issue when it comes to liberty because you're not just harming yourself with it. You could spread it to other people who haven't been involved. You know, the fewer people infected, the more the curve is flattened and less you pose a danger to other people.
Yeah, I just want to also point out, like, if I was the governor of my state or mayor of my city or president, I would recommend people stay home, but I'm not going to make them do it because if they're that stupid, they want to risk getting sick and they fucking die because of that, then they were too stupid to live on this planet. And hello, Mjolnir Man. Jesus. He says, "What up, virgins?" And I'm going to say no you to him, but go on.
Yeah.
Restrictions and thought, wow, you're all doing this way too early. Cases are on the rise in many places around the world.
Around the world, but not okay.
No, they are still on the rise.
I would have to like look at the numbers again for the United States.
I'll pull up the numbers right now. Yesterday,
I know for at least Kansas, we're predicted or we are plateauing out here in the next few weeks.
Hold on. All right, in the United States today, 32,165 people were diagnosed as positive for the virus. 2,535 people have died from it. This is serious shit.
Yeah, like I'm not.
I realize it's serious shit, loudmouth.
It's the number one cause of death in this country now. Is that virus?
Yeah.
Wait, what? What was the deaths again?
2,535 today. But I'm saying that it's the number one cause of death. It surpassed heart disease and cancer, which is which in normal times is the highest cause of death is heart disease.
And surpassed suicide or
homicide. It's the largest single cause of death in this country by far.
Although I think there were a few suicides
not in suicide or homicide.
It's much higher than suicide and homicide.
Suicide with guns alone is like 20,000, so is yet to surpass.
Per day?
What?
Today, 2,535 people today have died of it. That many in the United States alone.
Is that in total or per day?
There's in total per day for today. That's how many people have died today.
Yeah, I'd like to see your source because I'm very skeptical on that being like per day.
I'm looking at it right now. There are about 36,000 deaths. Oh, this is the overview in the United States. 153,000 worldwide. I hope they're not including China's numbers, but they probably are.
China's numbers, and let's be honest. We all know China's numbers are total bullshit. The real number in China is about 30 or 40 times higher than the official figures.
I'm looking at trying to find exactly New York. Okay, so if you're in the following states, God help you. New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and California. These are the top states in terms of the number of confirmed cases. But New York is leading the nation in the number of deaths. As for number of deaths per day, let me see myself. per day. Worldometers.com.
That's looking at new total cases.
Yeah,
So far from my quick Google search, it says 32,000, like just regular cases, not
Overall
deaths
deaths.
necessarily. But
Deaths is 2,535. That is by far the largest cause of death today. I mean, doesn't make up the majority of deaths, but other things that kill people: cancer, heart disease, traffic accidents, murders, suicides, what have you. Probably all those things combined have killed more people. Yeah, but this is the highest single cause of death, and that's with society shut down in order to stop this virus. That figure would be 10 times higher if we were just go about our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, and I just like to point out
1 second. So far,
JC
deaths is showing about 37,000 for United States, anyways. So
37,000, the total deaths.
that's the total. So I guess loudmouth, I will say I stand corrected as far as what's so far shown versus homicide and suicide.
And to JC Armitage, I'm assuming you're talking about Washington State. That's 13th in number of confirmed cases, behind Georgia, Texas, Connecticut, Louisiana, and the other states I mentioned above. 2 million confirmed cases in the world, 500,000 recovered in the world. We lead the world in the number of deaths from the coronavirus, which that's not something anyone should be proud of.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
Wait,
No,
what?
We
do. Well,
unless
it
we
may
know
be total number, but per capita, not really. No.
We do not lead in terms of total number. China's are massively higher than ours. They are fucking lying.
Okay, so here's what Google is saying, and I'm not trusting them when they say this. Okay, so the United States has 36,000, Spain 20,000, 22,000 for Italy, 4,000 for Germany, 18,000 for France. The United Kingdom is 14,000, and get this, China has 4,600 according to this, which, again, these are numbers from China, which are as reliable as a vegan on the grill, so that, they're fucking useless numbers, but...
As far as we know, loudmouth, like, yes, there is like little reason to trust China, their own reported numbers, but still, until it's like absolutely proven, I must somewhat defend S-Man in the numbers he's polling.
Look at the number of urns that were delivered to funeral homes in the Wuhan region alone was 42,000 last month for a certain festival that's time for the people who've died over the past 3 months. In a typical year, in a 3-month period in the Wuhan region, the total death toll is 10,000 people. All right, that's 32,000 completely unexplained deaths added to the toll in a country that claims that only 4,600 people have died of the virus in the entire fucking country.
Loudmouth, why are you so pissed off at us? Come.
He's not pissed off at us. He's pissed off at the fact, and rightfully pissed off about the fact that China is as honest as fucking Pinocchio.
Yeah, I'm pissed at communist China. It pisses. The evidence that they are lying about the numbers is overwhelming. And if you believe China's numbers, you're functionally retarded. To anyone out there.
I'm not fully believing China's numbers.
I'm not calling you retarded. I'm just saying
as
that
far as
general world, Yeah.
Let me ask one quick question. Is it like 1 urn per person as far as a person dying in China? Yes?
Yes,
okay.
1 urn per person. Those were the urns that were delivered to the families of the dead. All right, 42,000 in just one region. And it was the hardest hit region. But when that number is 10 times higher than the death toll that they claim for the virus from the entire country, it's safe to say China is full of it. They lie about death tolls for years.
Could do you think could somebody like theoretically buy an urn like before their death?
I mean, but who does that? I get those who buy
perhaps for future usage.
Well, yeah, but I think it's more likely people would rather buy a funeral plot than an urn before they die. But...
And just think about it logically. How the fuck would China, the most populous nation on Earth, where the death toll started, where the virus originated and spread for weeks without any measures being taken to control it, How in the flying fuck would they have a lower death toll than Italy, a nation that has like a population 40 times lower? All right, just by common sense, you know China is lying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They also, I mean, this is the same regime that insists to this day that totally nothing happened on June 4th, 1989. They didn't do nothing.
I will say there is wide open possibility for skepticism. I'm just going off of what I think what estimate and the numbers that he was polling was more of what we so far know, anyways.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, off of the official.
That's why I only look at like the American and European figures. I don't look at China's the global figures because I know that China's totally fake data has skewed that number.
The only countries I can find so far with no deaths basically have no fucking people in it. Rwanda apparently has no deaths. 143 confirmed cases, 65 recovered, but no deaths.
I suspect that's bullshit too, but for a different reason. Like there's no cover up. It's just that their medical system down there is so shitty. Probably very few people have been tested. So a lot of people have probably died of it and they just haven't been like recorded as from this virus.
Yeah.
I want to I just want to say very quickly that so far, just by what I'm vaguely seeing on my quick Google search here, when is Kansas supposed to plateau in coronavirus? And apparently I'm not that wrong. Well, okay. In my memory anyways, as far as predictions of it supposed to plateau out here in Kansas. Like I've heard roughly that neighboring states are still slightly rising, like Nebraska and Missouri, I think it was. But I'm just speaking for my own state in particular.
Milner Man has some disagreements with what Loudmouth is saying. He says, again, another assertion you are pulling out of your ass, Loudmouth. Italy was at least forthcoming and began documentation ASAP. There's a gigantic gap in time missing, which let me find where he starts off. So he says, yeah, but you also have no proof that they are fudging numbers of yet. Probably, but on the flip side, only about 1% of our population has been tested, which is being used to justify reopening many states. I also think it's just mainly people are getting stir crazy and they're getting angry because they're sick and tired of having to be in quarantine, which is understandable but dangerous at the same time.
Mjolnir Man,
I've been waking out. I've been having cabin fever up my ass with this shit.
I want to say, Mjolnir Man, it might by definition be an assertion of what Loudmouth is doing, but I think it might, to argue for Loudmouth, it's somewhat of a fair assertion in regards of the untrustworthiness of China.
I mean, it's not just that China is untrustworthy that I don't believe them. It's because there's numerous lines of evidence that their data is bogus.
Yeah, and again, how the fuck, even at this point in time, how do they not, again, a most populous country on the planet, how in God's name have they not had more people dying? I mean, their response has not been very good. I mean numerous journalists
probably resurrected half the dead, everyone who hailed the glorious Communist Party.
Which could mean a second, because which could mean a second wave. Also note, there was a 6-week period.
Wait, let's man. Are you reading research right now?
I'm reading his chat comment. Milner Man is what he's trying to say. Also note, there was a 6-week period before China even admitted to an outbreak. Lord knows how many people died in that time from COVID-19, which again, almost seems to reinforce Loudmouth's point that they're.
Yeah, that only reinforces my point.
Yeah, about the.
All right. Well, I'm on the news streams. I don't typically like arguing with the chat, or at least not for long periods of time, especially when we're in the midst of like reacting or responding to a video. So I don't know. Let's move on.
All right, guys, we're here in downtown Vancouver for a massive march against tyranny. Look at all the people.
Oh yes, Dan. A huge crowd. A whole 20 people. And if just one has the virus, and by the way, Dan, some people can have it and be asymptomatic, but one person is sick there, you will all get it, and then, well, it's like this, Dan, and Dan supporters.
One guy tells another guy something, and then he tells two friends, and they tell two friends, and they tell their friend.
And so on, and so on, and so
This thing spreads like crazy, much faster than some people expect. It should be taken seriously, and don't trust those giving.
I think it should more in people's private practices than in public policy. The public sector, like the government, can cancel their own public sector events, like for example, how Wichita canceled the Riverfest. But as far as like the government restricting the private sector, I'm somewhat skeptical in a whole lot of those cases.
I don't really like what these guys are doing. I think it's stupid. I'm kind of with Chair on this one.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I would not recommend.
I'm not saying that what they're doing is a good idea. I'm just like saying in the general grand scheme of things of like government taking more control of the economy and our lives through this. I mean, Australia has like released drones, for example. That would like keep track of people's.
That's how you just tweeted, S-Man. Good on you.
Thank you. Also, that's just a fucking surveillance state at that point. I mean, we already have one in the United States.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
they already have one in Australia. That's just making it increasingly worse.
Well, yeah, I mean, at least in the United States, I don't think there's examples of like surveillance drones being released in mass, at least. But that would be one example. At least it's not in the U.S. though. But anyway.
Advice on the subject who are uneducated.
A number of Vancouverites aren't drinking the Kool-Aid, and they're getting out and they're getting together here to show the world that we're not okay with unlawful orders and quarantines and lockdowns.
Dan.
Well, as far as unlawful goes, I would like use the rhetoric more of unethical or immoral more than anything rather than unlawful. But
I would say that I think
I digress.
He should just argue at what point are they not overstepping their authority? You know,
right? I mean, in the case of the United States, if the Congress or the president was doing something that goes against the Constitution, then it would could be considered unlawful technically. But this is in Canada. Let's remember, people. So I don't know how Canada's Constitution lines up with all of their restrictions. I don't know in full detail of what their restrictions are either. But anyway,
Snow Mexico,
right?
What is wrong with you? And it doesn't seem like all those people are on the same page. Doesn't seem like any kind of organized protest. Someone doesn't understand how viruses work and how they spread. They spread from people doing foolish things like gather in large groups to protest the supposed unlawful lockdown. And I noticed people in Ohio were doing a similar protest with even more people. Stay home!
Day here. It's be a shame to just sit at home.
By the way, I'm waiting for one that he says the more disagreeable stuff, just FYI.
Let the government tell you what to do.
Getting a lot of support too from cars driving by.
Where, Dan?
And I want to say that my first reaction was, wait, how are you making that assumption? I mean, some of them could be like anti-lockdown people, saying the people that are saying to the anti-lockdown protesters, go back home by honking their horns.
Go back home, play video games.
Yeah.
Go watch internet porn, jerk off or whatever. Don't be gathering around spreading virus.
Or at least if you want to like continue your activism, do it over the internet rather than in person.
Yeah, say what the fuck you want online. That's the wonderful thing about the internet. I can't spread viruses to you guys over the live chat, and unless they found out you can, in which case we're fucked.
Damn.
I just coughed into the mic. Both of you two have coronavirus.
Yeah.
Dark Con. Sometimes you're. Fuck. Never mind. I was gonna make some joke about how you are the coronavirus.
Well, not great, Darkon. Now I have Chinese bioweapon all over me.
China.
You ever think they are honking to say "get off the streets"? You big Al Borland looking dork.
Yep.
Not everybody drank the Kool-Aid. It's good to see.
I remember, like, just a quick side note, people. I remember that Sargon of Akkad did his own skit with Steven Crowder of the Young Turks Freak Out. and Sargon of Akkad was supposedly calling in the Young Turks program. And Cenk Uygur showed up a picture of Sargon of Akkad supposedly at a KKK meeting. And then Sargon looks at it and was all like, that's not even me. That's Al Borland.
It's got, yeah, I remember that. That was really funny because Sargon does look like that guy. He really does.
It was funny. Just, yeah. That's probably one of the funnier ones.
They look alike.
Get off the phone, you bearded fat fuck.
Yeah, I actually laughed really hard at that one. That was one of Crowder can be hit and miss, but that was one of his funniest times.
Oh yeah, and for people who
lovely cross-dressed as Anna Kasparian, but he didn't even bother to shave his chest hair.
Well, I mean, then he would have been out of character.
and for people who say and act like that it's objectively a fact that as Steven Crowder's not funny, no, it's not a fact. It's just your opinion. Like, I found his Star Wars and Avengers skits to be pretty funny too. You tell me we cannot get a single black guy on this team right here? What? I have been here like the whole fucking time. Yeah, well, you're in like every movie, so you don't count.
Dan, I like Kool-Aid, but in this case, there's no conspiracy, dude. No one is doing this to take away your freedoms.
That's where that gets a little bit disagreeable. Like, I say that it's not a conspiracy per se. I don't think that it's all a complete hoax, the coronavirus is. But people are still using it as a wedge to try to take more control of the economy and overall lives, for better or for worse. Like Trump, a little while back, he announced the possibility of like implementing an executive order to prevent hoarding and to prevent price gouging, quote unquote. The problem that I have with those two things is, for one, it's without congressional approval, is the first thing. And secondly, price gouging, quote unquote. What if a store like legitimately has to raise their prices in order to fit it in their budget? What if the supply is like really legitimately getting scarce, so therefore to compensate for that, they have to raise prices? And you're just coming in with a iron boot and saying, nope, can't do that. You're going to end up, I mean, even if it's like a big time store like Walmart or a Kroger Market or something like that, the bigger company is probably going to be feeling somewhat incentivized to like at least shut down that one shop and just transfer more of their business towards another shop that's in the same city or whatnot. And it's definitely going to hurt the smaller grocery stores if that order is implemented on them too. And as far as hoarding laws go, look, I get the perspective right there. I get the sentiment. Really, I do. Like, all these people that go purchasing 5 20-pack rolls of toilet paper. It gets ridiculous. And like 20 pounds worth of beef and 20 pounds worth of rice. It gets ridiculous. But what if some people like legitimately have to buy in bulk for, say, a big family, or they have to purchase for their grandparents as well, because they cannot go out and about, otherwise they're more likely to die from catching the coronavirus and so forth. And also, here's the bigger thing, here's the bigger concern. What if by the time that this is all said and done, what's to say that the government will really just relinquish that power? I'm highly skeptical of that. It just sets a very bad precedent all around.
Because this is America. That's all, you know.
Yep. And really, yeah, to say that people are not looking to grow the government because of this is just off base chair. No offense.
But a lot of the measures are reasonable to prevent the spread of the virus. We're not seeing any of the shit like with China, where people have been welded into their homes or rounded up on the street and thrown into quarantine camps.
Yeah, also,
right.
I just want to read in the chat. Milner Man says, I can see that, Dark Con, but the day of the initial emergency, I mean the day of, a price of an off-brand 2-pack of paper towels just went from under $4 to $10.28 for a 2-pack. So what is the other solution than Dark Con free for all? I guarantee many more people would be sick and dying. Milner Man 2020.
I still am not for the government like taking absolute control of grocery stores and saying we are going to dictate your prices and so forth. It'd be better to incentivize the production to increase than for the prices to artificially decrease, or incentivize increased production rather than force artificial decrease of prices.
I mean, like price adjusting would prevent shortages, though. But largely, there haven't really been that many shortages, so it's not really been much of a problem.
Yeah, that's
yet. But I've heard rumors that they could be coming if this lasts long enough.
That's called supply and demand. When the demand increases, but the supply stays the same, prices go up, says JC. Yep. JC also says further up, bullshit shutting down half of the businesses in the country most certainly is taking away our freedoms. Like, yeah, that's another example right there, JC. Thank you for reminding me of that. Pennsylvania forcefully shut down all their liquor stores. Now bars, I'm not so sure about that because a little after that order, Conundrum was able to at least go to a bar. This was like weeks back too, by the way, folks. So it's not current day. So who knows? Maybe the bars are completely shut down as well. But yeah, and also the fact that Kansas like forcefully shut down churches as well. Kansas governor was trying to do that. Then the legislature was all like, nope, we're overruling that. Then
did she try an executive order? Because I know
she actually took the legislature to federal court, trying to be a unilateral dictator.
Yeah, honestly, a few of these governors need to be voted out immediately. And same with any legislators who defend them on this. I'm sorry. I get it. We need to absolutely stop the spread, but that's no excuse for giving these legislators and governors any more power than they already have. They're going to be abusing that power, and they're going to be very unwilling to give it up. And that's the most tragic thing out of this whole thing, besides the people who've died from it so far.
Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not really agreeing with either side. I think that Dan Hicks's methods here is rather stupid, but I think his concern is legit. I think that Cher's methods that he wants to take in regards to this.
Yeah, then talk about his concerns. Don't be behaving this way in public.
What?
Then he should talk about his concerns online, not be in public.
He should, but his concerns, the rhetoric itself is not wrong I
don't know. I just don't want this virus to spread anymore.
I don't either. That's why that I'm like,
I want this whole shit to get under control so society can wake up and can reopen.
I'm restricting my social interaction as well to a minimum, but
I mean, I'm autistic. I never had much of a social life, but it's still been kind of depressing seeing society shut down.
And as someone who's had his graduation completely fucked over, it's really aggravating because I want to get the hell out so that
I have some. The only positives I've seen from all this shit is I've noticed a ton of fury at the Chinese Communist Party that I haven't ever seen before, and I think that's beautiful.
Honestly, I don't see a single reason as to why any American would have a positive view of the Chinese government. An overwhelming majority of Americans do not approve or have an unfavorable image of the Chinese government, and
yet we allow our businesses to continue to kowtow to them.
Yeah, like I'm all for free trade and shit, but honestly, any countries near China that are wanting to be an independent of China, I mean, a multilateral trade pact with them, along with other measures to totally kneecap China's economy. Let's fucking do it.
Honestly, one of Trump's worst mistakes, and I agree 100% with Crown T on this, was putting trade tariffs on India. That was a horrible move because India is a trading rival with China. So if you had put tariffs on China but then opened them up with India, that would have done a much better job at kneecapping China. But Trump, being an idiot, just starts putting trade tariffs all over the place, and it's a mess.
Okay, let's. I'm going to read this from Neil and Man. But you can't rely on people's own choice to stay home en masse. It always happens. Businesses won't stop. People won't take it seriously until it's too late. Maybe some people, but not all. Honestly, I'm just going to say this. If I was the governor, I would have been blunt with saying this. I'm not going to make you stay home. If I recommend you stay home and you don't stay home and you get sick and die, good. You're too fucking stupid to live in society when you were warned that this virus might take you out. I'm sorry, I have no patience for these retards.
If you're gonna die on your own terms, die on your own terms. For one thing, I mean, if you're going to be that willful for suicide, I guess.
But
even then, like the police getting more and more involved in enforcing of these rules and whatnot, that just sets like a very bad precedent for a totalitarian police state.
It's.
Well, I don't know if I agree with you on this, Darkon.
What?
Oh, I just don't.
What?
Well, I'm trying to remain as much with my libertarian principles as possible.
Yeah, I understand your libertarian principles. I have the same ones, but I just don't want I just don't want stupid people to be spreading this virus around and keeping society shut down forever.
Yeah, and I'm like, but the concern is the overstepping of their authority, and I get it. I get the frustration. I want society back open too, but I'm not going to give the authorities the power to force you to do so. Like, I'd love it if they do that people would do the right thing, but they're just not. No matter how much force you use.
Yeah, it's a really tough question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It does. It is a tough question, and I'm going to be honest. There are times of where I've almost got the feeling to want to shelve my libertarian principles for the meantime, for the short term. But then I just go thinking some more and go thinking that I'm not so sure about that.
And then again, it was the very, very unlibertarian policies of China that made this virus thing in the first place.
Well, actually, no, not really. They were being authoritarian and suppressing the information.
That's what I said. Yeah.
No, you said libertarian, though.
I said unlibertarian.
Oh, okay. I guess I did not hear the un part. My bad.
Yes, I said the very not unlibertarian, the very not libertarian policies of China that allowed it to get out in the first place. The fact that they suppressed the information was what allowed it to spread. So
my bad.
I don't think authoritarianism is any kind of solutions. So I've been furious reading articles taking China's BS numbers and saying it's a good reason. Well, look how low their numbers are compared to ours. Clearly, authoritarianism is good. You know? I've read articles like that, and it's like pissed me off. I'm like, one, China's numbers are bullshit, and two, the virus only got out of control in the first place because China suppressed the information.
All right, and would you at least agree with me on this stance that everybody who is like still able to work shouldn't get a check from the government?
Yeah, honestly, I hate every moment of the fucking bailouts of all.
Well, I'm also asking Loudmouth.
Well, I'm just wishing. I kind of see the need, but I'm wishing the government had not run up deficits during good times year after year, so that we would have extra money to bail out things in a real emergency. Instead, they're bringing up deficits while times were good.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if there was money to be given out, and that's a big fat if too, by the way.
Yeah, there is no real money.
Only be the people who are unable to work. The people who still are working, no.
Inflation's going to skyrocket.
Yeah,
because of all the money that they printed, and they have no one to tax it from because no one's working. Inflation's going to skyrocket. It's going to be bad.
Yeah. Also, Milner Man, no, it's not. It's not a time to for the state. This is not a beneficial state apparatus. And yes, you're right. A miffed. This time I pronounced it right. Cuttlefish. First off, we should not be funding the arts and humanities. Those are useless motherfuckers. They deserve to be defunded entirely. And considering the fact how they treat their people after they got the bailout from the federal government, that was fucking disgraceful. So defund them entirely. If you want to start, you want to find the money for these stimulus checks, go for it. But no, I understand some people want to show off their principles. I'm extremely skeptical of giving the state an ounce more of authority force people to stay home. I'm not going to do it. I know it sounds like, oh, I'm being an ideologue, and you can call me a libertarian and other childish fucking insults all you want, but I'm not going to give them a fucking ounce more of power. The feds and the governors can get fucked entirely.
Without at least some heavy thought. Anyways, what do you say, Loudmouth?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's absolutely been some overreach, but we couldn't just go about our lives like normal with this.
Of course.
I don't really think
it would
so.
kill
I think
people, literally millions.
I do want to say that here in Wichita, at least Textron Aviation, they willfully furloughed about 7,000 of their employees. That kind of took a hit on the economy on the one hand, but on the other hand, it is their own private business. They can do what they want. And maybe you can even argue that it was a smart thing to do if they did not have any other methods. But
of the furlough, sure. But I mean, I'm hoping there's a few people I know I want them to be furloughed because I'm afraid that they're considered essential workers. Although I can tell this is taking a huge toll on them.
Anyway, continue on just a little bit more here. I don't think we'll watch the entire video because the video responding segment of this episode is carrying on too long.
Trudeau isn't somehow doing this to be a totalitarian control freak.
I don't know the specifics of Canada's laws as of right now, but I can definitely say that Donald Trump is kind of inching towards that way.
Yep, and also
sorry, Chair.
Rest in peace, Loudmouth. But fucking Dan Dix. Right. He must have been very popular in elementary school.
Thank you for joining, Loudmouth. I guess he thought that the stream might have been getting a little bit too heated. I don't know.
Who knows?
Anyway, he was on for quite a while.
Yeah.
Longer than he usually is. And by the way, I just want to say thanks for coming on the program, S-Man. It's been quite a longer time than Loudmouth, or even Aspie for that matter, that you had been on.
Yeah.
When Dan got some heat on Twitter, he added,
"What's idiotic is this overblown authoritarian clampdown and this shutting down of small and medium businesses in the global economy, which will cost far more deaths in the long run than this disease ever will. Their cure is worse than the problem itself."
I don't know. I don't know if I would agree that about it killing more people. The quarantine. I don't think it's going to. Although I mean, some of the proposals of how to deal with the quarantine, the coronavirus, are going to be worse. The solution is going to be worse than the problem itself in that area, but it's not going to kill people more so than the.
I mean, if we were to get in a painstaking 1930s style of depression, then maybe he has a point.
Yeah,
but I'm not so willing to make those brash predictions right there.
Yeah.
Dan and others are convinced the economic impact of the shutdown will cost more lives than the virus itself, but he's simply wrong. And just because you don't know anyone who has it doesn't mean a lot of people don't have it. I don't personally know anyone with cancer, but that doesn't make cancer any worse of a deadly disease.
Well, I don't think that was what he was trying to imply, but I digress.
Don't be like Dan. Take this outbreak and the precautions seriously, as hard as it may be, and trust me, I am finding the quarantine very difficult. The replies to his video are brutal. Graham says, "So basically, you're fighting for your right to play pass the parcel with a hand grenade? It might not go off in your face, but it most certainly will in a family member's face or a dear friend or maybe a neighbor's. Taking a hand grenade home is your right. Freedom is freedom."
I mean, that's true. I mean, look, yeah, freedom is freedom, and we're all for having people do what they want as long as it doesn't hurt people. But it's also up to those people to understand that, yeah, you have the right to do it, but that there are risks to it. You acknowledge, yeah, I go shooting sometimes down in southern Utah. I know there's risks of handling a gun. I'll still handle a gun, but there's risks to it. You know that.
I want to say on second reading of this tweet right here, it may be a little bit radical, but Second Amendment rights, y'all. I mean, it's not like he was saying that the hand grenade was already activated. I mean, for all we know, in this rhetorical situation, the hand grenade still has the pin in and has not been activated. So no real harm is done unless somebody actively activates the grenade by passing on the grenade. So it's kind of not really an effective analogy. But it is a little bit harder to consider. Like, would passing on coronavirus to someone else, could that be considered manslaughter? I don't know if I would go so far to say that, because if you were to like run a car into somebody, there is a definite more, like accidentally or mistakenly, let's say, there is definitely a far more guarantee that you had like either seriously injured permanently or even killed that person. Whereas passing coronavirus on to someone else unknowingly, might I add, because there's a whole lot more knowledge involved and self-awareness involved that you had just like ran into somebody with a car. But with the coronavirus, it's more unknowing and a little less awareness as far as that goes. And it doesn't absolutely guarantee death. Like, I would have to like look at the numbers again, because to Loudmouth's credit, that what was it, 36,000 total deaths so far since getting the coronavirus thing. That was a little bit eye-opening, but at the same time, I'm still seeing the percentage bases, and okay, last I'd read it, it's only like marginally higher than seasonal flu, deaths from seasonal flu on a percentage basis. Anyways.
Pocket Raptor Vivian. This is a great idea if you want the lockdown to continue to 2021. I mean, if you don't want to celebrate Christmas with your fam, this is how to do it.
I will say, yeah, that's why I'm mostly staying home.
Fab asks, how many here have had friends, acquaintances, and family members affected with COVID? Not me.
I gotta read this. Face it, Fab. The reason you don't know anyone with COVID is because you have no friends. Your family has actually turned their backs on you, and you've pretty much been practicing involuntary social distancing since you were 14. That's fucking amazing.
That is kind of savage right there. I will grant that one.
God damn, that's amazing. Fuck.
But it's more like shit talking than it is substantive, but
I mean, I know, but holy shit. That's just perfect. Fuck, I'm sorry.
Okay, Paul's non-argument, as JC says, is quite funny. I'll give him that.
Oh, fuck. Okay, let's continue.
Face it, Fab. The reason you don't know anyone with COVID is because you have no friends. Your family has turned their backs on you, and you've pretty much been practicing involuntary social distancing since you were 14. I don't think the insult was necessary, but ouch.
It was funny.
Roget's response to Dan's video. You're an effing idiot. Stay inside.
I can't stand Seth Rogen. He just looks like a whiny cuck.
Simple, to the point, and hilarious. It makes sense for Seth to reply since he's from Vancouver in the first place. Seth Rogen's laugh may be slightly annoying, but he's giving decent advice here. Don't be a Dan. Stay inside until this thing is cured and eradicated. Claiming that the whole quarantine is unconstitutional or that it's some ploy by a government to be authoritarian is ridiculous.
I don't think that's a ploy by government, but government is definitely using it as a wedge to become more authoritarian, as past examples were mentioned throughout this stream.
Also, they are.
I do want to give credit to Chair where credit is due, at least, because when I originally had seen this video like shared on Twitter in some group chats I'm in with him on, the original title of this video was Seth Rogen owns anti-lockdown protester, that being Dan Hicks. And when I originally watched this video, I was saying that, yes, I think Dan's methods are stupid, and I don't agree with the prospect that this is a hoax or conspiracy or anything like that. I do think that the coronavirus is real. But at the same time, Seth Rogen did not own Dan Hicks just calling somebody an idiot and doubling down on your demand of stay inside, that being this case right here, is not owning somebody. Like Seth Rogen didn't even like address the main concern that Dan was having to like debunk or refute anything that Dan was saying. I mean, it's just like a frustrated school teacher is all that Seth Rogen is doing. Not many words to actually respond to the actual words being said, just being demanding, rightfully so demanding, I guess, but at the same time, didn't really cause any ponage. But then Chairview was noticing the backlash that he was getting on this video, and he changed it to Seth Rogen says stay home instead of Seth Rogen owns anti-lockdown protesters. So I do want to at least give Chair credit on that, but let's move on.
In a video that Dan Dix posted on the Press for Truth YouTube channel titled, "I got End the Lockdown trending on Twitter, and now the Twitterverse wants me dead," he says,
But when I try to bring alternative information to the discussion here that will enlighten people as to the real crux of the matter, I'm the one who gets silenced. Destroying the global economy and potentially wiping out the middle class is something people should be far more worried about rather than policing one another to fall in line with these jackboot thugs.
All right, I do think that that's where I want to end the video. I did listen to the entirety of the video. I cannot remember anything in the last 2 to 3 minutes that's really worthy of responding to that hasn't been said before. Although he does mention as to how Dan got death threats, and Chair says that death threats are not justified towards you, Dan, but still I disagree with you, etc., etc. So that's pretty much the end of it. And I want to end this response off with JC Armitage saying, "This is how freedom dies, with thunderous applause. Padme in Star Wars Revenge of the Sith." That is probably one of the few good lines in the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, JC. Not gonna lie. I mean, it's true. If you got like a, I know that S-Man kind of cringes at this, but if you got tyranny of the majority basically supporting a very super popular leader, then that's going to give him a whole lot of clout and influence over the political sphere.
Yeah, especially when they ignore constitutional restraints on their authority and the people turn a blind eye to it.
Yeah. I wasn't going to read this. I think I meant to like show this as an example of Trump actually officially getting his executive orders through. Apparently, the price gouging or the hoarding order is not on all supplies like toilet paper and food and stuff like that. It says more specifically medical supplies. I remember Trump saying during the speech it was just a general anti-hoarding order. So I thought that it was going to be on everything, but coming through fruition, apparently it's just on medical supplies that the anti-hoarding order is being acted on. Not everything, but yeah, apparently I did not remember it correctly. But anyway, what were you saying, S-Man?
Oh, yeah, and fucking... honestly, I know a lot of us have questioned our principles. I mean, there are some policies I have actually proposed during this time that normally I never would, like canceling rent and mortgages just for the time being. And I made it clear that any laws I would propose on this, unless it's like certain things I actually do like a tax holiday, and I hope that conservative and libertarian types push for tax holidays, but like canceling rent and mortgage, that would have a sunset clause. A lot of things I would have proposed would have a sunset clause. But the tax holiday, no, I actually would hope to have that more often. It's basically, for those who don't know, it's when sales taxes are reduced or eliminated for a certain period. So like imagine like a national sales tax holiday on the 4th of July. So every 4th of July, we don't have to pay, we pay a little less or nothing in sales taxes on certain things.
And JC asks, and how exactly will hoarding, quote unquote, be defined? Exactly, JC. It's just, again, like I said earlier, bad precedent being set in the power that we're letting government being having, you know?
Yeah, and
excuse me.
Basically, the government's definition of hoarding is the government wanted it, you said no, and they're like, that's fucking hoarding, and then they're gonna make you give it up, or they're gonna throw you in a fucking cage.
JC Armitage also says, of the prequel trilogy, Revenge of the Sith was without a doubt the best one. I can agree. That was like the only Star Wars movie that actually got me to cry when I first watched it. Of course, I was a whole lot younger, but still, the emotion throughout some of it was more legit in that. Like, the lines were cringe looking back, but the acting was overall fairly solid. Especially when Anakin going towards the end is all like, I hate you. And Obi-Wan says, you are my brother, Anakin. I loved you. And just witnessing all the Jedi die during the Order 66 stream and all that shit. You've never seen Star Wars, have you, S-Man?
I saw one movie, and very early 2017, and I haven't looked at it back since. A miffed cuttlefish as like back to school tax holiday. Yeah, I think they have that in a few states. North Carolina got rid of it because North Carolina's retarded, but other states have it. And I think a back to school tax holiday is absolutely a smart idea.
And miffed cuttlefish says, "You were the chosen one." And a meme was born, y'all. But anyway.
Damn right, motherfucker.
So, moving on a little bit with the show here. And I don't know. I think I might cut it a little bit shorter than I was planning since we're already over the 2-hour mark. Because there was a couple more articles I wanted to get to. But we'll at least read this one right here that is talking about a gun law that I was seeing screen caps shared around. Like on Messenger, one of my Facebook friends sent it to me, and I thought, oh, I gotta look into this. What is going on here? And honestly, there weren't that many sources talking about this order right here, except for a few very super vague government websites, and then these passionately pro-gun websites, or maybe they're not really pro-gun, but just lockstep Republican, possibly. I don't know, but we're going to at least read this article from this website, gunowners.org, and take them with a grain of salt anyways. What are you saying?
I don't know if you guys have seen PBS Frontline's documentary about the NRA, but Gun Owners of America is way better than the NRA is. But anyway.
Really? Do they go talking about Gun Owners of America?
A little bit, but mainly it's the NRA was flip-flopping with pro-gun control Democrats in the Senate in 2013 after the Sandy Hook shooting, which that's the saddest part. I think I've learned in politics there's some people you just can't talk about issues with because they're too fucking emotional. So
yeah,
like a certain Chatsburg.
we don't talk about Chatsburg. Well, okay, that's ironic because I did make some mentions about him, but we're not going to go on any much further about him right now.
About who?
Yes, about who? I already forgot. Anyway, if anti-gun Democrats win in November, they'll pass H.R. 5717 and gut the Second Amendment. Well, if you keep in mind Donald Trump, he's been the most anti-gun Republican president that we have had basically ever, I will solidly say. George Bush Jr. wasn't very pro-gun himself, but he did not make as much of a concerted effort as that I have seen of Donald Trump. And Reagan, he did pass the Hughes Amendment back in 1986, which banned basically all full auto rifles. But aside from that, there wasn't much, and there was also the fact. Okay,
he also
there is also the fact that there was a gun control bill that he had made back when he was governor of California. But one can make that he was still trying to shake off his Democrat roots when he was governor, and when he became president, there was a little bit, only this tiniest minutia of a different belief with him when it comes to guns. But the Hughes Amendment kind of says otherwise. I don't know. It's just really mixed. In short, to say Reagan is not as much of the pro-gun president that, sadly anyways, that some Republicans would hope he would be.
Yeah, he did after his presidency endorse Dianne Feinstein's assault weapons ban of 1994. And on a lot of issues, Reagan is he's a very weird president because of how He's often viewed as this anti-tax hero, yet he raised taxes 11 times. But yeah,
different areas. Anyways, the income tax was the main thing that he decreased across the board generally.
yeah.
Get to it, Dark Con, says Smith Cuttlefish. Sorry. But yeah, time to send in the clowns. Remember Democrat Representative Hank Johnson of Georgia, as we were making mentions about him earlier. He was the congressman who speculated during a congressional hearing that the addition of 8,000 Marines in Guam would cause the island to tip over and capsize. Oh yeah, if you have never seen this video, you'd have to see it to believe it. Anyway, it turns out that Representative Johnson has now ventured beyond his knowledge of Earth science or the lack thereof to posit his views on gun control. That bill is H.R. 5717. Where to start? 1. Red flag gun confiscation orders. Well, I thought there was already a national law on that. I don't know. I would have to get updated on whether that is currently a thing or if it was just something being posited by Trump but failed. I'm not sure. Title 4 of H.R. 5717 would establish federal funding for red flag middle-of-the-night gun confiscation raids without notifying the gun owner in advance or giving him a due process right to defend against the unsubstantiated allegation triggering the raid. You may be aware that a second Marylander has been shot to death in an unannounced raid at 4:30 a.m. He was summarily executed for possessing guns, even though he had been a juvenile delinquent. So yeah, red flag laws already not liking this bill, and it gets worse, folks. 2, universal background registration checks. Police would know which houses to raid because Title 2 of this bill would require most transfers, quote unquote, to have background checks and 4473s. While 4473s are a decentralized form of registration, the ATF has come under fire for illegally copying these forms at many dealers' place of business. Expanding this practice would mean that all transfers would eventually be centrally registered. What is a transfer? Well, it could include you're simply handling a gun to someone who, unbeknownst to you, is a prohibited person. For example, if you hand a new gun to your veteran neighbor to look at, and it turns out the Veterans Administration has appointed a fiduciary to look after his financial affairs, you go to prison under H.R. 5717. Licensing. Title 1 of the bill would license all firearms and ammunition, so the government could completely repeal the Second Amendment by simply refusing to license. On a more individualist basis, granted, but yeah, still. 4, the anti-gun wish list. H.R. 5717 has many more things, including a semi-auto ban, a ban on standard capacity magazines and suppressors, a 1 gun a month limitation, which has already been instituted in Virginia as of late, and much, much more. So here's the question. Is H.R. 5717 going to pass even in the anti-gun house? Well, it's some indication that even the whack jobs and Pelosi's flying circus, quote unquote, doesn't appear to be co-sponsoring it in large numbers. But what it does tell us is that it is potentially on the agenda if Joe Biden is elected president and Democrats retain control of the House and seize the Senate, which I kind of doubt the latter right there. And I just noticed that S-Man has left. Oh well. Thank you, S-Man, for joining. Sorry that I bored you with my monologue, but anyway, have to check out that link right there. Oh, he says in private chat, have a good night, Darkon. I'm going to head out. If you need anything, let me know. All right. Good night, S-Man. He could have said that out loud, like quickly interject, but anyway. Coronavirus, y'all. No, I'm joking. I don't have it. I kind of doubt the seizing the Senate. They'll retain control of the House. I predict Joe Biden getting elected. I pretty much doubt as well, but that's at least more likely than claiming the Senate, from what I vaguely see as a layman anyways. But anyway. Oh, and if you think the courts will protect you, Biden intends to pack the courts with leftist anti-gun judges, eliminate the filibuster. Well, what's the one girl's name? The one woman's name? Oh god, I can't remember. It's the old hag in SCOTUS that people practically go ragging on for practically being dead or well, not literally dead, but just falling asleep in the middle of Supreme Court cases. God. Ginsburg. That I think is what her name is. Yeah, Ginsburg would be the only one that I can think of. I mean, maybe Clarence Thomas is needing to retire soon. But outside of that, I'm not so sure if it could get much more anti-gun aside from possibly replacing Clarence Thomas. I don't know. You mean Sotomayor or Ginsburg? I meant Ginsburg, JC. That was my bad. Sotomayor, I think... this is one of the younger SCOTUS judges, actually, if I recall correctly. Circumvent the Electoral College. Yeah, Biden intends to circumvent the Electoral College, but good luck to him on that. I don't think he would be able to get that done, even with a Democrat-controlled Senate and House. I kind of doubt it. And give Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, and perhaps Guam, if it hasn't tipped over, 2 senators each. I'm not so sure of how quickly he could get all this stuff done. I mean, especially with how freaking senile that Biden practically is. Sotomayor is highly anti-gun, Miff Cuttlefish says. I'll take your word for it. So you don't need to worry about HR 5717 yet, although it certainly won't hurt to call your congressman at 202-224-3121 and urge him or her to oppose this bill. But it is important that we take this time to get our pro-gun friends and relatives registered to vote. Elections have consequences, and this coming November is going to have important consequences for our rights protected under the Second Amendment. So if every single person reading this alert was to help 5 pro-gun acquaintances get registered, we'll be a lot better off during this next election cycle. Thanks so much for your help in getting an army of registered gunnies who can hit the polls this year. You know, now that I think about it, Pat Roberts, he's up for re-election this year, I think. I haven't heard any words of somebody trying to primary the guy, so that is pretty sad. I thought they voted in, says Esmond. No, they at least according to this website right here, they haven't voted it in yet. I mean, that's kind of the thing that sort of scared me about the one screen cap that was shared to me by my Facebook friend, is that I thought that it was in the process of being passed right now, but not yet apparently. So thank Jesus for that, at least, I guess. And even if Trump was to lose the election to Biden, I'm not so sure if that makes really much of a difference as far as gun legislation goes. The Senate, I mean, establishment Republicans have been kind of spineless when it comes to a whole lot of issues in recent years. Obviously, yes, but I can at least trust the Republican-held Senate to at least be firm when it comes to gun rights, especially a big package of a gun control bill that this is right here. Here's my opinion. That Republicans generally nowadays anyways, in the past, it was a little bit of a different story. In the past, Republicans were about almost the same as Democrats when it comes to gun rights. But nowadays, typically speaking, especially looking at Republicans like Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Mike Lee, typically pro-gun, stereotypically speaking. Just Donald Trump is the exception to the rule. I mean, the guy isn't even a real Republican as far as I'm concerned anyways, but that's beside the point. Miff Cuttlefish says, didn't PR vote to stay out of the U.S.? Who do you mean by PR? Oh, Puerto Rico. Okay, never mind. Didn't Puerto Rico vote to stay out of the U.S., says Miff Cuttlefish? I'm not sure. And she says that she doesn't remember either. Well, you know what? I'm going to carry on with at least one more article here, folks, talking about single-payer healthcare, because I at least have the little red cross thing in the thumbnail for this episode of Strike Force that goes referencing that I am possibly going to talk about healthcare, and so I'm going to at least hold by what is shown in the thumbnail. The abortion stuff can wait till a later date. But anyway, this from Washington Examiner. It's an opinion piece, but since it's from Washington Examiner, I have fair reason to trust it. I mean, Washington Examiner really hasn't failed me just yet. They were rather unbiased when it came to Brett Kavanaugh and how anti-Fourth Amendment that the guy is, being for the NSA spying and all that stuff. So they're fairly unbiased, so let's go. Coronavirus shows again why Medicare for all is a bad idea. As the coronavirus spreads, many are beginning to question the federal government's ability to contain and mitigate this crisis. One group, however, remains confident that the government could do more if given the chance. That group is led by none other than Bernie Sanders, an out and proud socialist who is using the coronavirus outbreak to push for a single-payer healthcare system. COVID-19 and the current testing shortage, he improbably argues, is actually proof that the United States would be better served by a nationalized, bureaucratic healthcare system. Quote, it has never been more important to finally guarantee healthcare as a human right by passing Medicare for all, unquote, he said in a February 27th statement. Sanders isn't the only one either. Sanders isn't the only one either. Senator Ed Markey issued a similar statement on Friday afternoon, and he was joined by several other Democrats. By the way, thanks to everybody who liked this stream, by the way, and has watched it so far. It's been a fun stream, especially responding to chunky yogurt. One glance at how this virus has affected the rest of the world, however, quickly dispels this idea. Italy, which has a single-payer healthcare system, has seen its hospitals overwhelmed. Hundreds of elderly citizens are going without treatment. Hundreds more have died already. Its system was woefully unprepared for this pandemic, and as a result, the country has been unable to react to COVID-19's effects in a timely fashion. The result has been disastrous. Now, if I'm to be fair, I think I might have heard that it's also because they just have been more open with and lax with their immigration system. So lax that other people from other more heavily infected countries have came in and started infected them too. Although I'm not so sure about that. So I'm not so sure if it's such a good idea to go off of that assertion. To be quite blunt to myself. But if I was to be fair, it's more of an overwhelm than anything. But at the same time, like I've read from these two articles right here and here, they do have the plan set up that they will, in fact, ration if it gets to a point. And they are approaching that point very fast, if not have crossed it already, to where that they are going to have to ration to just let the people who are in their 80s just die off already. Now, here in the United States, it's a little bit more privatized. I mean, United States isn't exactly free market healthcare either. I mean, with ever since the passing of Obamacare, for example. I mean, Obamacare isn't exactly single payer either, granted, but still. But it's still technically privately owned. The health insurance and hospitals are and so forth. And because of that private ownership, there is more heads of healthcare, like all the different people owning their own healthcare companies, their own health insurance companies and hospitals and so forth. So that's just multiple different organizations able to brainstorm their own ideas for what they can possibly do to fight off coronavirus. On the other hand, though, something that I heard from quite bluntly that my mother actually told me is that FDA is not approving of some certain drugs. So here in the United States anyways, I'll have to get back on that actually, about what exact treatments that to fight off the coronavirus are not being approved of by the FDA, that the FDA is blocking. But if that is true, then that would be an example of how that the United States is going to be affected. Yes, but at the same time, that would be because of government overstep more than free market if the FDA is blocking some certain treatments. But back on my earlier spiel, more organizations able to brainstorm their own ideas as to what exactly they do with the health crisis right now. Whereas in Italy, it's just basically one big health organization, it being nationalized and all. Almost along the same lines as NHS in the UK. One second, folks. The immigration thing might be highlighting the UHC problem, but the main problem does truly stem from UHC, says JC. I couldn't agree more, really. I mean, immigration, particularly like free and open immigration, would not be so much of a problem if all these countries did not have such big welfare states and so forth. Just scrolling it right there. All right. But continuing on, though, in Britain, ventilators are in vastly short supply, and Britain, would be another example of highly centralized healthcare. Intensive care beds have already been filled, and doctors are beginning to tire, one physician told the New York Times. The British socialized healthcare system, which American socialists often tout as a base model, they go touting more the Norwegian and Swedish style of healthcare, more than the British kind, but I digress. Although the British, anyway, has been incapable of handling this outbreak. The UK NHS, that is, even though the United Kingdom has been dealing with far fewer cases than other parts of the world. Question, Washington Examiner, would that be per capita, or are you talking about raw numbers? Because raw numbers isn't exactly that good of a metric to go off of by, but anyway. The U.S. government can and should do more to help the public prepare for coronavirus's continued spread. I am very picky as to what exactly the government should do in general. Oh god. Whoever wrote this article is just showing themselves not to really be a libertarian if they're saying that so freaking easily. The U.S. government can and should do more to help the public prepare for coronavirus's continued spread. Which exact ideas? I mean, there are some ideas that I'm at least tolerable of, but not exactly giddy of, and there are some other things that I'm absolutely refusal on. Already, the Trump administration has adopted a hands-on approach, working with health insurance companies to waive copays, partnering with Congress to provide 2 weeks of paid sick leave, and providing additional funding for small businesses as economic activity slows. Okay. The greatest amount of relief, however, has not come from the federal government, but from the private sector. Okay. Now you got my ears tingly. At least 2 vaccines have been submitted to the Food and Drug Administration for approval. Oh, god. You tingled my ears up for a second there, but then you said Food and Drug Administration, and that just kind of squashed my hopes. Thanks a lot, Washington Examiner. And several private health companies, such as the Michigan-based Pneumo DX. Pneumatics? I don't know. Such as the Michigan-based Pneumatics, have rolled out technology that can be adapted and used to test for their coronavirus. All this happened within a matter of weeks. You know, I actually did some research on the Food and Drug Administration, back when I did my collaboration video with Loudmouth Reviews. That collaboration response video against Tom Hartman, anyways. And I would have to look back at that again. But basically, they have been rather shit with their approval process, the FDA has. So overall, I'd say repeal the FDA. It needs like a serious reform or even a full-on shutdown and repeal and shutdown is my opinion anyways. At least reform or make it so that it's not so freaking centralized, like to the federal level. Like at least let the states have their own miniature FDAs if they really want it instead of this big all-encompassing organization. You have to embrace the private sector, Anthony Fauci, the head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, said during a press conference Friday afternoon. You can't do it without it. Compare this, and I will say it's a pity that Anthony Fauci got fired from his position, like Ben Shapiro reported about. Like Anthony Fauci was like being interviewed by, I do not know what exact organization it was. I think it was the New York Times or something. And or maybe it was someone else, and the New York Times just printed an article saying Anthony Fauci rails against Trump. And Trump, not even like looking at the full story and reading the actual words of Anthony Fauci, decided to fire Anthony. Like just looking at the titles of those articles, Trump was being an idiot and decided to fire Anthony Fauci. Ben Shapiro was saying that everybody was being an idiot in that case. It was one of the more recent episodes that I think I was listening to on either Wednesday or Tuesday. Can't remember exactly. Compare this to the federal government's response, which has been lethargic at best and negligent at worst. We've known about this virus for months, yet the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's early screening process was slow and full of missteps, as Fauci has readily admitted. Even now, testing is severely limited in even the states that have done the most to expand it. The simple truth is that government is not very good at handling fast-paced, widespread problems. There's too much red tape, too much politicking, and too much fighting over territory. Just consider Washington Governor Jay Inslee, whose unprofessional and partisan behavior is the norm in government. Rather than work constructively with the Trump administration on a bipartisan solution to a real-world problem, he went straight to blame casting and name-calling the moment the first stateside infections reached his state. Despite all this, Sanders and the other socialists would have us believe that the solution is more government intervention, more politicians and their egos, and more bureaucratic regulation. This is nonsense. We have the best public health system in the world, as former FDA Director Scott Gottlieb said last month. Okay. It is equipped with the best infection control procedures, well-equipped hospitals, and skilled providers, he explained. If any country can beat the coronavirus and come out on top, it will be the U.S., and we will have the free market to thank. I will say that I agree with the platitudes being spoken, but I wish those were like backed up more by stats, data, and other stuff like that. That would have been really helpful, but unfortunately, that's not the case, folks. So, read up on the chat here a little bit more, but that is going to be wrapping up the end of this show right here. Myth Cuttlefish said a little bit earlier, they tout the Euro-style healthcare, countries significantly smaller than U.S. Yeah. That is a thing, actually. I keep on hearing the whole 45,000 a year death figure pulled out as far as like deaths from result of lack of health care, supposedly. And that would be it would be better if that was like broke down to per capita. I don't think I've heard that figure have been broken down to per capita before yet, but I don't know. Most Fed agencies need reform and reduction. I would say exactly, Myth Cuttlefish. Inspection groups like the FDA and EPA can very easily be privatized. Ever heard of UL, Underwriters Laboratories? I haven't, JC. They're like the FDA for electronics, and they're way more effective than the FDA. All right. I might have to look into it sometime. But for right now, that's the end of the program. Thank you all for sticking around, and I would like to thank S-Man and Loudmouth for joining, even though that they left before the official end of the stream. And y'all have a good night. And I do have like a couple more live streams planned throughout this weekend. Excuse me, I must announce right now. Tomorrow afternoon, I will be streaming with Don the Pleb on Two Plebs Talk News, talking about political spectrums and probably some other issues as well, because I don't think there's going to be much to talk about in regards to political spectrums. And then Sunday afternoon at about 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'll be interviewing a leader for a pro-life organization here in Kansas. I'll have to ask them exactly if they want me to refer to them by their actual name, because the guy doesn't have an internet alias, or at least that I so far know anyways. So I'm not going to be so gung-ho to inadvertently dox the guy. But anyway. So stay tuned for that. Again, interview on my channel, Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And tomorrow I'll be streaming with Dawn on Two Plebs Talk News. That I might chill on my in my Discord server. See y'all later. Have a good night. God bless, and have a good weekend. Peace.